Oh yeah, resign week. I gotta beg Jordan Addison to come back because he's declined legit like 4 offers. It's getting I'm,
I
I'm
wonder why.
I'm getting desperate at this point.
Does the fifth year option correlate to where the player was drafted?
I don't know. It's weird. I,
Because
I
Marlon McMullen's fifth year
think.
was 36 million and Corbin Caldwell's was 55. Like I
Wait,
got it
what
for
now?
$19 million less than CMAS got Corbin Caldwell.
It, it,
It's got to be tied
it
to
must have
draft
to do with
position.
draft position then, yeah.
Yeah, my guy was drafted. It is based on where they're drafted.
Oh, okay.
It's
Sick.
position and where they're drafted.
I didn't even get an
Oh,
option to
love that.
give Jordan Addison a 5th year option last season, so now I'm just having to like
Hmm,
cobble together
weird.
some offer. It's really weird. It's been inconsistent.
Hell,
Um,
what's hell?
Hell
Is,
tier.
is that bad?
Yeah,
My punter retired.
this
God,
is
I don't, is there going to be any that are hell? I don't know about that.
yes.
All right.
Okay, all right.
This
I'll be ready
is
for it.
now this is a staple of the BLN tier lists where states like Ohio, for example, states like New Jersey, like they didn't even deserve F tier because they were
I
so
didn't
bad.
know.
We had to
I
throw them in
missed
Hell
the
tier.
state one. How the hell was Wisconsin a B tier?
Lakes, lakes and cheese.
Lakes and cheese.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lucky
all you need.
really hammered home the Lakes point. I was
Connor
not
hates
very
lakes,
happy
and I
about
don't
it.
understand it.
Okay, I'm not trying to hate Lakes. I just as a justification to put Wisconsin in B tier. I don't know, but anyway,
Well, where was Michigan then?
where was Michigan?
Comparable.
Yeah,
'Cause
Michigan I think was also B tier.
I think generally we put all of like
all the
Minnesota,
lake ones. Yeah.
Wisconsin, Michigan,
Yeah.
Illinois. They were all generally around that B tier
I'll
area.
have to watch that one back.
It was a good time.
When you get two Washingtonians tiering the 50 states, you
Oh
get some
no,
biases, you get some there's a take
we
in
are.
in the chat.
Yeah, we're already
I
getting
would think
started.
that the most well-traveled EL user is probably Connor, right?
He's definitely up there.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I mean, I've
within the U.S., I suppose.
I've been to all the East Coast ones.
Right.
Um, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, and Washington.
I
that's it.
think we determined I'd been to 14 when we counted prior to doing that.
I've been
Gotcha.
to I think 18. Not including like drive-through states. Like I've driven through like North Dakota, but
Right.
I don't count that.
Yeah,
That's
well,
not
yeah,
you're
don't
not
count
actually
those.
spending time there.
Although you might take a lot from driving through it.
That's for sure. The natural beauty. Yeah. I mean,
The 30 seconds I was in Rhode Island, I was like, "Oh, Rhode Island," and we left. Cool, cool. I hope it was a great state.
shout out BL Boston 2024, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get some more takes then. Yeah, Gridiron saying Ohio's at least C tier. I can't.
Yeah, that's
I
awful.
can't. I can't.
That's just horrible.
I can't.
I don't know if I've ever even I've driven through Ohio, but
Cleveland's the
I wouldn't,
only.
I wouldn't know a good reason to stay.
Cleveland's
got
the
corn.
only city
You like
I've
corn?
been to where I just like actively wanted to leave. Like I felt like I was getting like, I don't know. It was bad. Cleveland was just not a good city. Anyway, but you know why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. We're not here to talk about states. That was a few weeks ago. We are here to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, aka the MCU. I am joined by probably the two biggest MCU experts in the league, I would say. We had to do it big for this tier list. I'll start with you, CMAS. How we feeling, and are you ready to drop some takes today?
I'm ready to drop some takes. I feel like me and you have in the cinema chat and then in the old MCU chat and Slack would disagree on a few, and I know when they come up that we will have some disagreements. But otherwise, I feel like we'll be pretty chalk on this for the three of us. I haven't heard Lucky's take as much, but I'm looking forward to it. As soon as you said, "Hey, you want to do this at 5?" I was like, "Becker, cancel all our plans. I'm alphaing. I'm doing this. This is happening."
We're talking MCU. Lucky, how we feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm kind of with CMS. I don't feel like I have many extreme takes. I feel like I go pretty chalk when it comes to these movies, but who knows? I'm sure something's gonna pop out here and there
Yeah.
where we're splitting some hairs. I'm looking
I feel
forward
like
to it.
I'm always going to be higher on some than you guys. I feel like
I do,
I'm
yeah.
definitely a higher than a lower than.
I think that just gauging from some of the conversations we had, CMS definitely just enjoys movies. I think that's a place that you and I are kind of somewhat in common. I just like going and having a good time. Like I'm not going to dissect every single like line in the script and look for plot holes or anything like that. And I don't think that Connor, I don't think you do that per se,
No.
but I do think you are quicker to call a movie horrible than we might be.
Oh yeah,
I think I'm quicker to be potentially disappointed by these movies than you two are. My general belief is that Disney has more money than God, and we should hold them to a higher standard than hey, it was generally entertained for 2 hours. I think we should do better and be better. But you know, that's
Look,
I'm
in the
outnumbered on
grand
that.
scheme of things, I don't think there's many movies period that I've been entertained for the full 2 hours.
Ooh,
Sure.
okay,
So
totally fair. Totally fair.
just my opinion.
Totally fair. We have these ordered chronologically. As y'all can see, it goes all the way back from the days of the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, etc., all the way up to Echo. That's where it stops. And you will, as we go on, y'all will hear my knowledge of these movies kind of slowly go further and further down because I'm not gonna lie, post Endgame I fell off. Post Endgame, like I've seen all the movies, but once
That's like halfway through. That's the crazy thing.
I know, yeah, it's tough. But once we get to the
45
TV shows,
properties.
once we get to the TV shows, especially, it's gonna be very, very rough out of my end, which is why you two are here.
There's some bright spots. There's some bright spots.
There are definitely some bright
We're actually
spots.
not getting another project till Deadpool.
Yep.
So this is it.
They're going to try to get back to the old ways of quality over quantity. Happy about it.
Deadpool and Wolverine might suck me back in. That might be the one. Seeing Hugh Jackman back.
Yeah. Gridiron, we're only doing straight MCU, none of the legacy stuff.
Yeah.
None of the well, although I guess Hulk is technically probably a legacy one. But
the Blade movie is not MCU canon. It has not been brought in.
Although I do love the original Blade.
Right. It would not shock me if when all is said and done with this phase, when they're done wrapping up the multiverse stuff, if they do something to bring all that shit under the same umbrella. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
We begin, ladies and gentlemen, as y'all can see, this
Wesley
is listed.
Snipes in legal trouble.
Is he?
I felt like
I don't think so.
A while back.
Maybe.
And then I haven't seen him since.
I mean, I know there are a lot of production issues with the current Blade movie. He threatened.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's not. It has nothing to do with Wesley Snipes. But.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the current one is in development now. They've had a lot of issues with directors and scripts.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I also know nothing about Blade. I'm kind of talking out my ass there, but we begin with one. I mean, we're off to a good start because I have not seen this movie. The Edward Norton Incredible Hulk.
Yep. I think you haven't seen it, and then I have not seen it either, and I don't think I have a desire to either.
No.
So as the only person here who's seen it before, I can't say. I think you'd enjoy it.
Okay.
It is a good superhero movie. It came out around shortly just before Iron Man. I'm pretty sure at the time they had no idea. They knew that those two movies would take place in the same universe when they made Iron Man, I think, but they had no. Obviously, they had no idea the MCU would get as big as it was, and they had no idea that they would continue doing this. So I don't think they put a lot of effort to tie things in together. Sure. And also, I think Edward Norton didn't want to stay with he didn't want to get into a franchise, so that's why he never came back. Once they decided to actually make things bigger and bring Hulk back, which we got Mark Ruffalo, which I will say Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is better in my opinion. Edward Norton obviously is a fantastic actor, but he seems like one of those people who's too good to be doing superhero movies. So I don't know. I guess all that is to say, I think it was a solid movie. I still wouldn't put it much higher than D tier. It was kind of I'm trying to set that low because I do think we have a lot of other movies that are way better than it. And though I do think you guys would enjoy it if you went back and watched it now, I don't think it would grip you the way that a lot of other movies in the MCU have.
I don't want to jump ahead, but give me an MCU comparison. I feel like this would be as good as blank.
I feel like this movie would be. If it came out today, it would be received probably the way I don't know.
Nothing's well received today. It feels like. But.
Right.
We'll get there.
Yeah, that's typical.
He's like, oh wait, that's
we'll
not
get there.
Eric Bana one. Yep.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah, you telling me when we see something else in D, I'd be like, is Hulk better?
And we'll also we're going a bit blind right now in terms of the tiers. We'll have the opportunity at the end of this to kind of move things around if we think there's an obvious mistake we made. But I'm okay with tier. Yeah, no, what was the Ang Lee Hulk? I would put in B or A. I really really enjoyed that. But this is not that. I've never seen it. I have no opinions. So I'm happy. Happy to do D.
I think for now let's toss it in D, and we'll revise that later as other things come out.
Beautiful. What I will say about like Hulk as an MCU character, I think his characterization peaked in the original Avengers, where he was probably like the best character in the whole thing, in my opinion, and then it slowly went downhill for me. It got kind of less interesting as time went on, although it had a resurgence in Ragnarok for sure. Moving on now to the movie that started it all. For me, this is S tier, and I'm not one of those people who says S tier lightly, but for me, this is S tier. Not only for it as a movie in itself, but for the impact it had. You know, really, if this had failed, there would be no MCU, and it was in production hell for a while, but you know, they were able to get it together, and that is the original Iron Man.
Go ahead, Lucky. I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay. I hesitate to put it in S tier because I think Connor. I feel like I don't know if I was talking to you about it or somebody else, but I feel like in doing these tier makers, people end up putting too many movies in or too many things in S.
Yes.
I think a good rule of thumb is probably not more than 5 to 10% of a thing should be S tier. Even 10% feels a little bit higher. But I have Iron Man in high A for all the reasons you said. I think it's just an incredibly influential movie. It created the core of everything we have now. Robert Downey Jr. was one of the most perfect castings in like cinema history. But I can't put it in S tier on that alone. For me, it's high A.
I started off saying that I thought I would be higher on them than others, but this one I'm actually lower than you guys on, and it's only because I feel like a lot of people push this one up because of like the historical value of it, like how like it was so important. But I like to rank these as rewatchability, and like how often I'd watch it over again, or like how often I enjoyed it, how did it make me feel when I was watching it, and I really enjoyed Iron Man, and it was I remember seeing it in theater with my dad. That seeing this was like one of the first superhero movies I saw, and I really didn't know much about Iron Man other than I thought his suit looked cool. And so, watching it back now after seeing, a bunch of movies and stuff like that, I'm like, that was a pretty solid one. That was a good, like, starting point. Like, this is the minimum the movie should be. And so that's what my opinion is. It's a B. It's like, this is where it should be. This is kind of like the floor. As how we should, the expectation. I can't even think of the word I'm thinking of. It's the standard. This is the standard.
It's the baseline, the standard.
That's the one I wanted. And I love Jeff Bridges in this movie. I think he's actually one of the better villains, one of the underrated villains, honestly. But I would put it in a B. And so if he's thinking high A, you're thinking S, I'm thinking B. I think it should probably be considered probably a low A to kind of average it out.
Yeah.
But I would say B for me. But average it out. We'll throw it in a low A is what I think.
Yeah, well, generally, I mean, if all three of us are putting them in different tiers, I'll probably put them in whatever, the middle tier is, unless someone has, like, a super strong argument. To be clear, like, I'm not putting it in S only for the historical value. I think as a standalone movie, even if you remove all the context, I think it's high A tier, if not low S. Like, I think it's really, really good. But I hear what you're saying. It's a lot more grounded than the movies we have now, but also, there's a newness to it. Not everything was kind of perfectly manicured like it is now, so I'm sure there are some rough edges that I'm not thinking about.
Yeah, and for me, S tier is just like blow me away, totally. Amazing, and I don't think Iron Man's there, but I think it's definitely strong. Hey, let's do it.
We move on now to its immediate sequel, which I don't think this came out chronologically right after Iron Man, but this is where it has it, so we're just going to go with it.
It did.
Oh, it did? It came out before Thor? All right. Well, fuck me, never mind. Iron Man 2.
Yeah, for me, Iron Man was definitely better. It's going to be lower. This is going to be a hot take, and I'll save it for when we get to another one. But Iron Man 2, I feel like is just mid. I felt like it had a lot of potential. I don't feel like it met it. It is definitely lower than the original Iron Man. For me, it's a low B or a high C. It's forgettable. I think I've rewatched it maybe once or twice. But for me, it just doesn't really get for me. The only thing that's really gets it for me is it introduced us to Black Widow and Scarlett Johansson into the MCU. I feel like that's one of the best parts. And then they recasted Rhodey in this one, which I feel like I can't think of his name, but he did a much better job in my opinion. But for me, it's a low B, high C, and kind of forgetful.
I'm actually going lower than you. I thought Iron Man 2 was a pretty mid movie for me. It obviously continued the line of fantastic characters that some are still with us today. I think that War Machine, Don Cheadle's War Machine, has been a phenomenal character over the last like decade and a half. And obviously Iron Man's the GOAT. So like it's difficult to put any movie with Iron Man in it too low, but at the same time it was just somewhat of a mid kind of forgettable movie when you're really thinking about everything. I think I'd have it like low C.
I agree with both of you that it's C tier. I think one big kind of misstep they made with Iron Man 2 is not having Mickey Rourke be a more competent villain, kind of show like what if Tony Stark, kind of went the other direction with his, money, with his influence, like kind of have that duality there. Instead they made Mickey Rourke a bit of a joke, which we'll get later to other villains who I thought were like overly, made a joke, I guess, instead of, I guess the more, like, influential things they could have been, yeah. For me, this is, it sounds like we're all kind of hovering around C tier. I also have the C tier, so we'll put it C tier. But I think a big missed opportunity to not have that kind of, like, two sides of the same coin thing with that Tony Stark and Mickey Rourke. Could have been way better.
For sure.
The original, which I have not seen this since release, so I have no strong takes about it, but the original Thor.
I think they did a solid job of introducing the character. I think they learned really quickly what worked and what didn't work with him. Like giving him blonde eyebrows, that was never going to work. That was a mistake. They took that away as soon as they could, and that was fantastic. I thought they did a really good job, though, of giving him a base to work from in future movies, because it was a very strong, I felt like, characterization of Asgard and everything that he had going on there. I don't want to get too into talking about the future movies, but I think this is probably like second in his, like the second best one in his 4 movies. I don't know. It's still, I feel like that first wave of movies was mostly just about world building, and a lot of them I don't actually look back on and think like fantastic movie I have to rewatch all the time. Like Iron Man's kind of the only one from that phase 1 that I really feel that way about. So I don't have super strong feelings to put it up high, but it was definitely better than like Iron Man 2 for me.
So, letter?
I'll go B. I'll go like low B.
Thor for me, this is one of the lines I quote the most of any Marvel movie is every time I just quote it all the time. and I think it's hilarious. I think this set a good line of Thor being a serious character, but also with a little bit of comedy in it, which I think really kind of skyrocketed the MCU a little bit because it really kind of added the comedy. Whereas, Iron Man 1, 2 didn't really have it. Incredible Hulk, don't even count it. I assume it's not there. But it kind of added that little bit of that in there. And then also it just doubled down on the excellent casting. The Tom Hiddleston, obviously, and Chris Hemsworth getting casted in those roles and just nailing it out of the park. So for like just to have that baseline there and just really, really enjoyable, for me, it's at least a B tier. So I would say it's definitely, a higher B. Don't think it's an A, but I would say a high B for me.
Yeah, I was going to as well bring up just the perfect casting point, which really, with Iron Man and with Thor kind of like springboarded the rest of the MCU. Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Anthony Hopkins is Odin. Just getting a lot of just elite acting in there and just perfect casting for what they were asked to do. Idris Elba as well. Yeah, I am also hovering at B tier, so it sounds like we all kind of have a consensus for this one as B tier, but underrated, I think, in the MCU catalog. I think
this is one that I would have in B, and then as we go along, I find myself having that be like the line of something's a B, but I think it's still better than Thor. I think for me, this is going to end up being really low B.
Yeah. As we go further, at least for me personally, like I'll be like, I think it's a C, but better than Iron Man 2, or like I'll say in between these two movies, and kind of just to get a better understanding.
And that's something we try to do. Like we did it with the states tiers, and I think we'll do it here. Is we'll generally try to rank everything within their tiers. Like it won't be a perfect science, but we'll say it's C tier, but it's clearly better, or it's D tier, but it's clearly worse, etc., etc. Another one of the kind of original movies that led to something great. Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah, this is. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say this is an interesting one for me because I think if you had me do this when it first came out, like the first few years it was out, I would have said that this was a lesser movie and that it wasn't that great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think after seeing everything that they did in the future Captain America movies, and I don't know if this is necessarily fair, the way that we're doing this, but after seeing it everywhere that Captain America's character went, I look back on it so much more fondly now than I did in at first. Because I saw because now I've seen like the carried out vision, and I think it was incredibly strong. At the time, I think I probably would have had it like D tier. But these days, like I will go back and watch it all the time because I'm like, that's our Cap. Like he really like it was a very strong origin movie to show us exactly who he is, what he cares about, and what his values are. And it wasn't something I took away when I first watched it. So I thought that was kind of interesting, just looking back on like how my perception of the movie has shifted over the years. Because I would definitely have it in B tier now. I think it was an incredibly strong movie looking back.
And to take sorry, not to jump ahead of you, CMS, but to take a character that they could have very easily made like a total caricature and a joke, in the wrong hands, and make him actually have depth and make him actually one of the more interesting characters. Like they could have very easily, I think, fumbled this movie, and they didn't, so they get respect for that.
Mm-hmm. And I remember when it announced that Chris Evans was the actor, I was like, what? Like, because I was thinking to myself, like, okay, not another teen movie, like
Right.
Fantastic Four. I'm like, how the hell is this guy going to pull this off? He nailed it. And, I'll probably, premature, but I think Captain America has the best trilogy of any of the characters. And of all the ones of, like, their original movies, this is the one I watched the most. More than Iron Man, more than Thor. And it did age better over time to me. I rewatch it and I have a lot of fun every time. And I'm also a history buff, so watching like them doing those little videos and stuff, and for like the war to gather money and stuff like that. Just really
it's
gets my
actually how they
juices
killed
flowing.
Hitler in real life for sure. Captain America punched him in the face a lot.
Sure did. It's historically accurate, obviously. But for me, I don't remember if I heard you guys say a letter or not. But
I said B.
Oh, you said B. Okay. Yeah, so it is a B for me as well. Probably one of the higher Bs, definitely higher than Thor.
Yes.
But I like this movie a lot, and I think this is the ironically the worst Captain America movie, but still really good.
Yeah, it's pretty easily the worst Captain America movie, and still, like you said, high B, for sure. Just I realized I've been ignoring the chat for a little bit. Gridiron saying B makes sense, high C, going back to the Thor takes. The casting for early movies were so damn good. Yeah, I mean, if they didn't nail the casting again, the MCU would not be nearly as much of a Goliath as it is, and not nearly as culturally relevant. So they did a great job. The skinny Steve Rogers memes alone placed this in B tier. Yes, a lot of memes out of it. Actually
Walt just introduced us to Carter, and she's definitely one of Peggy Carter she's my type.
Listen, we're not going to get into horny hours here on BLM, but me too.
Why not?
Okay, listen. We can make this degenerate. The original Avengers, the team-up movie.
I'll go first on this one.
Go ahead.
Definitely an A. It's not S in my opinion, but definitely an A. And I remember like this was the first movie for me growing up that I was really excited for. Like I didn't really like I would get excited for movies and stuff like that, but this is the one that I was just like, oh my god, I cannot believe they're getting them all together. I watched the Thor movie, I watched Iron Man, I watched Captain America, Hawkeye. Oh yeah, I remember him from Thor. They're all getting together. Oh my god. So for me, it really just hyped it up. It's like the first big movie, the first I think $1 billion Marvel movie, or close. I don't know if it reached $1 billion or not, but it was the highest grossing one and still one of the highest grossing ones. So for me, it's definitely an A tier. It was a fantastic movie to begin with. Not a huge fan as Loki as the main villain. That was probably the only thing for me, that he's not as menacing as I'd like. But still high A tier for me.
Yeah, it was the movie that it was the first time you really ever get a team up movie in that way, with a bunch of already set up characters that have had their own time to have their own character arcs in their own ways. You're not just throwing everybody together all haphazardly like Justice League did, and just like they did everything so perfectly, so right. They played it at just the right pace that by the time the Avengers came out, we already cared about each individual character, and it allowed them so much more freedom to do what they needed to do in the Avengers, where they don't have to dedicate 45 minutes to each individual character just to make sure that people care about them. They did just such a phenomenal job of building up to that moment, and then when it came, they knocked it out of the park. The Battle for New York, that whole sequence is just it was something that we hadn't ever gotten a chance to see in movies before, and they didn't fumble the bag.
I hate to interrupt you, but think about the impact it has. Like even like a lot of the phases in the movie now, like they still reference back to the battle in New York.
Yeah.
So it's just so impactful to the whole universe.
Poor New York, man. They get
like
beat up so much.
To like, oh, we're fucked. Like there's other things out there. Oh God. Yeah.
The chemistry between the main four. I mean, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk. It all worked pretty perfectly in this movie. I think parts of this movie have potentially not aged like super well with like all of the Joss Whedon like quippiness and stuff. I think sometimes it's a bit much, and you know how I am with that. But I'm probably on an island with that. But it has to be A tier. Yeah, it has to be A tier for sure. Really solid. I personally would put it below Iron Man, but I'm probably again.
It's over Iron Man for me.
Okay,
I put it over Iron Man.
All right, so again, outvoted. It's above Iron Man. Gridiron and Justin both saying A.
Do me a favor, Connor. Press F11.
F11.
F11 should basically maximize it where it hides your. Basically, you can get more on your screen. If it's not working, then you must have a Mac.
I have a Dell.
Oh, well, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's fine.
Or zoom out a little. Like, just get a little bit more on your screen.
I could zoom out a little. You know what? We'll deal with that later.
Will you be able to read it if you zoom out?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
no, Connor.
Really, yeah.
It's okay how it is. I don't want to start like doing that now because my whole computer will crash if I start messing with it.
You're a good man.
Is Mark Ruffalo really from Kenosha?
He is, sadly.
Okay.
He probably went there once.
All of his involvement, I might have to bump it down a tier. That's tough.
Probably born in their hospital, but
Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3.
Bad luck.
They made an Iron Man movie and then didn't actually give us much Iron Man. It was a kind of a rough movie. It was important character development for Tony Stark, but it was very difficult at the time, and even still now, reconciling the fact that he just didn't spend much time being Iron Man, and that's one of the things we enjoy so much. This movie wasn't received well when it first came out, at least compared to everything before it. I feel like it was the first time since everything had started that people walked away saying, "Oh, maybe they're not infallible and they can make a mistake." And obviously, like there's some coming up. There's another one or so coming up soon that is similar issues, but it was a disappointing movie when it came out, and I don't think it's really done a whole lot to me to age well. There's not a whole lot to it that I care about these days, and it's one I usually skip over when I'm thinking about what I want to watch in the MCU today. But yeah, that's probably a D tier for me. Might be F, but
so I was gonna say I kind of hinted at it when I was talking about Iron Man 2 that I have a take that's probably not gonna take him well, which is this. I like Iron Man 3 better than Iron Man 2. And it has a lot to do with just the interaction with Iron Man basically without the suit, and then having to deal with and then messing with the little kid, not messing with the little kid. Ooh, that sounded bad. His interactions with a little, I forget his name, but the little kid in the garage and stuff like that, and just seeing him just kind of be more of a human, not that rich philanthropist and playboy and stuff like that. So I really liked the character arc of it. Plus I liked the villain in this one with the Mandarin, and then the twist of it not being the Mandarin kind of adding all in there. I liked it better than Iron Man 2. So I'm probably gonna get outvoted on this one, but for me, I can't see where we have everything voted because of where Connor's at in the thing. But it would be above wherever we have Iron Man 2, it would be right above it. So like just a higher C than Iron Man 2.
Okay, so you know what's really funny is I was about to give the I like Iron Man 3 better than Iron Man 2 take, and I thought that I was going to be on an island with it. Wow. So, yeah, we both agree.
Yeah, Lucky, you suck.
This is kind of crazy. This is crazy.
We cannot put it in B tier whatsoever, but yeah, I have it above Iron Man 2 in C tier. I think they're very similar quality movies. I actually think like the Robert Downey Jr. stuff in itself was better than Iron Man 2.
Yeah. he
Don't
could
have
act better in this. Like he was actually like free range to like show more emotions, and I don't know. It just felt like more of a theatrical movie.
Man, I got about so like Grid brought up a good point. That was another big part of why people were so disappointed with it. And CMAS, you said you liked the Mandarin reveal, but that was like such an incredibly disappointing reveal.
They made up for it,
people,
in my opinion,
for people who
ways.
came in. I agree and I disagree. At the time, Mandarin was such that everybody was so excited about him, and he was brought up to be so menacing the entire movie. And then they were just like, just kidding, none of this stuff is actually where we actually didn't want to follow the comic books even a little bit here. That was a very disappointing one for me. I was very excited to see Mandarin in a movie, and then I felt like it just got botched to hell.
And I think
I didn't feel like there was anything redeeming there with the villains.
I think this might explain it. Connor, have you ever read the comics?
God, no.
Me either. I think that's why we probably enjoy the movie better.
Yeah. Keep in mind, y'all, as I give my takes, have I ever read comics for any of these characters? Nope. That's where I'm coming at it from.
It's just strictly based on the movies and series. Yep. That's why we have Lucky in here, the biggest nerd.
Put it below. Come on, put it below Iron Man 2. Come on.
We both agreed it's above Iron Man 2. Sorry, man. You're outvoted.
God damn it, man.
We'll get the chance to look at all this again afterwards. If you're really like pounding the table saying no, it needs to be lower.
If everybody in the chat starts pounding the table that Iron Man 2 is better, then we can flip it.
Gridiron, I don't think is very
happy
with us.
Agreeing on the next one though.
All right.
Listen, yeah, it's time to fill out some of these lower tiers. Although not really. It's only this one right here. Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
You guys probably have this one up in like A tier, right?
Obviously, this is the best Thor movie. No, just kidding. I watched it once. I've never watched it again, and never will watch it again. This is a Marvel hell or F tier, in my opinion. They feel like they wasted a good actor. I can't even think of his name on the top of my head, but I know I like that actor who was the bad guy, and they wasted it. There was nothing about this movie that I liked other than the initial like fight scene on the that
ice world,
ice planet. Other than that, it was trash, and in my opinion, it was awful. I'll never watch it again. So hell or F for me.
Yeah, I think if we're doing hell tiers, Thor: The Dark World needs to be on it. I will say, like, it's one of those movies that was so bad that when I finally got around to rewatching it years later, I walked away from that rewatch thinking, oh, that was only just bad. I really thought it was, like, horrible before. Like, my expectations had gotten so low because of how it was when it came out that I found, like, a very small microscopic way to enjoy it later on. And that's a testament to, honestly, how bad it was.
Yeah, I have no unique takes beyond what the two of you just said. It's one of the worst MCU things, movies, TV shows I've ever seen, and I think it has to be in hell tier if we're doing a hell tier, which we are. Shout out Bear League Network. All right.
Yeah, it's an easy one.
This is an easy one.
Moving on.
Captain America.
This one is probably an easy one too.
The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I'll let you guys go. Go ahead, Lucky.
I know where I'm putting this.
Yeah, I know where I'm putting it too. I think Lucky
this
and
is
I
S
agree.
tier.
Yep.
I think I know it too. Yeah, go ahead, throw it up there.
Yeah.
And we can go ahead and talk about it, Lucky.
Well, it just
what the?
It's they played around with like the spy genre so well in it that they did such a good job of bringing the next stage of Captain America's story in, while giving us a very unique and compelling story that didn't feel copied and pasted from the rest of the MCU. Natalie Portman was fantastic as Black Widow in it. It was kind of the first time we got to really spend a lot of time with her, outside of her being just like a filler character here and there at random points. Yeah, everything about it, like the villain, obviously it was one of the most, up to this point, it was probably the most, the movie had the most ramifications for future movies moving forward. It gave us like one of the biggest twists that we've seen in like the entirety of the franchise. I can't say enough good about it. I'll let you go.
I was just gonna say this is probably the only non-Avengers movie I'd have as an S tier. There might be one other that I can't think of off the top of my head, but this is probably the only non-Avengers movie that's an S tier for me. And this is the first first MCU movie that I watched, watching the fight scenes, thinking like, whoa, this is next level. And I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first Russo brothers directed Marvel movie. I could be wrong, but it just felt completely different. It felt like it was standing on its own, minus the fact that obviously it is tying back a little bit to Captain America with Bucky and everything like that. But I love this movie a lot, and I loved it more as time went on. Like when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that was really good. And then the more movies I watched from MCU, I kept going back to this one. Like, man, this one was just different.
Yeah, I mean, you could remove all the superhero elements from the Winter Soldier, and it's just a really, really good espionage movie. I mean, it kind of stands on its own. Yeah, easy S tier for me. I don't know. I mean, I think you could make the argument that this is the best MCU movie. I don't know if it is for me, but for
I
me,
wouldn't say so.
this is the MCU movie that I go back and revisit the most. I've watched this like 5 times
The most?
probably. Yes. And
Oh, wow, okay.
yeah. This to me is just like perfection in terms of like what the MCU can accomplish, and I wish they would take risks like this now and, try to do genre movies, genre films like this. Is really, really fun. Easy S tier. Winter Soldier.
Easy.
OG Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm just going to telegraph. This is another one I would have put in S tier personally, but I think I might be on an island with that.
No, go ahead, give us your opinion, then we'll go. S tier, why?
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, speaking of a team-up movie that they just had to do right away, I think it's probably the funniest MCU movie. I think it's got a ton of heart to it, just like, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did as well. Obviously, we'll get to that in a bit, but it's got a ton of heart to it. Great story, just picture perfect with the pacing as well. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm mostly giving it S tier just because I think it is the funniest MCU movie, and I don't think it's particularly close.
Yeah, for me, it's not S for me.
That's fine.
But it's definitely really good. I would probably say it's an A, but I would say probably a lower A. And I like Guardians of the Galaxy a lot. I remember Chris Pratt as Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec, and so when I heard that he was casted at this, I was like, "The hell, what?" And but he did a great job. I think this is really what took him. He was in Parks and Rec and did really well. And then when he was in this movie, that's when like Chris Pratt became like the one of the people in Hollywood at the time. And then again, they just nailed the casting for a lot of these people in this movie, and I thought it was really, really enjoyable. I would say it's the funniest MCU movie, but I would say it's the best soundtrack in the MCU. So I would definitely say at least an A tier, but probably a lower A for me.
Yeah, I've got an A. I think I understand exactly where the argument comes from for S, but it's just not quite there, and I don't want to shoot our load too much on the S tier too early.
Right there's good. Right there.
I think that's great. I think one of the significant things I think about when I think about Guardians of the Galaxy was this felt like this was Marvel taking like just a massive heat check. Like they were running Hollywood, like they were starting to become this thing that everybody talks about, like superhero movies are so hot right now. And then they're like, yeah, fuck it, we'll make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie and people will still come and watch it. And like nobody knew like nobody knew who these characters were, but like James Gunn, phenomenal. He can't say enough about what he's able to do to make you care about all these characters that you didn't know before. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was just a heat check moment, and just fucking splash. They hit it. They nailed it. Phenomenal
Shout
movie.
Out to Vin Diesel. Just collecting checks just for
I'm pretty sure that Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel have still never been on the set of a Marvel movie.
No, I don't think they only met him on like the red carpet, I think.
Yeah.
That's top tier. I honestly love that for both of them. Collect your checks wherever you can. P-Town making a great point, just saying I am Groot. That's yep.
Preach.
Yep. No notes. Without this movie, Chris Pratt is never Mario. Okay, F tier sounds good. Here's another one that we may have disagreements on. Avengers Age of Ultron.
Go ahead, Lucky. I'm curious on your thoughts.
I think this one gets too much hate.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a solid B movie.
Oh, okay. We'll get there.
I think a lot of people had obviously incredibly high expectations because of everything we've been doing, and the initial Avengers was such like a momentous event in movies. So when you get the next Avengers movie, you wait several years for it, and they all come back together. You're expecting for another life-changing thing, and it just wasn't. Like, it was just a solid movie. I think Ultron as a villain, I don't think he was done enough justice. He had so much potential to be so much more, and he is so much more. That they just kind of like, it felt like they scraped by doing the bare minimum with him. Like, I don't think he was a bad villain when all was said and done, but he lived up to nowhere near close enough to the expectations of what the character has potential for. I do think that it gets some hate that I don't think it deserves, but I'm pretty content with it in B tier for me.
A lot of things I was going to say, Justin was saying in the chat, and I hate agreeing with him on some of the things. It is highly overhated, in my opinion. I remember, like, and I still watch this one back, and I get why, like, people were disappointed. My biggest disappointment is kind of what, like you said, just kind of jump. They wasted James Spader as Ultron. I feel like What If made up for it later. But Ultron for me is just a badass villain, and just like I felt like you said, he just kind of was too easily defeated. And James Spader's voice is just butter to my ears. And hearing him in that role, it's fantastic. There's a lot of good scenes, and Justin said in the chat, I still think of, nobody trusted Vision when he first he was just like, oh shit, what's this guy gonna do? What's going on? Then he picks up the hammer and hands it over to Thor, and it's just like, fuck, he's good. Like, we're good. Like, we don't need anything else. Like, he's cool, man. Like, fuck everything else. Fuck, like, all doubts went away. So, like, things like that are in there introduced us to Elizabeth Olsen. Thank you very much. I'm also very disappointed that they killed off Quicksilver in the same movie. Not sure what the thought process was on that one. But I say it's a low B tier for me. I would put it over both the Iron Man sequels, and probably above Thor for me, but below Captain America.
Okay, so two major issues I have with this movie, and I'm not gonna go so far as to say, oh, like, low DF. It's not there. It's just not there. But
no.
Two issues I have with this movie that I think why I'm probably lower on it than you two are first off, they bungled Ultron. I mean, you think about the original scene, like his introductory scene, his sequence with Jarvis, right, taking over Jarvis, his revelation to all of them, like, he was so badass, and then they just turned him into just a quip artist for the rest of the movie. And that kind of leads me to that second point, which is I think this is the first MCU movie where I think the comedy, like, they started going like a quip a second, and it started, I think, kind of overshadowing what could have been, more emotional, kind of more in-depth moments. I think they tried to kind of like paper over with quips, which is an issue I'll get into, more and more as we get into like phase 3. But I personally would put it C tier, and probably honestly below the two Iron Mans. But if you two have it in B tier, then we can go B tier. Just lowest.
I'm content either C tier above the Iron Mans. I'm content to C tier above the Iron Mans or bottom of B. Both those work for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with putting it at the highest C then. If Lucky's good with it, I'm good with it.
So long as it's not below the Iron Mans.
Yeah, above the Iron Mans for sure.
All right. That's fine with me. That feels like a good middle point. Justin's pretty much agreeing with us, saying low B, high C, and Gridiron saying mid C to high D. I think he's more in line with where
he's more hating it.
Avengers.
It's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
He's on this.
It's hard to put an Avengers movie that low.
Yeah, it's sure. because and like we're saying, like, even if the story itself didn't come out the way that we hoped it would have, it was still a very entertaining movie for a lot of different reasons.
I'd rewatch it above a lot of other movies.
Yeah, it's very rewatchable. It's just disappointing.
Yeah,
sure. Original Ant-Man. Speaking of great casting.
I'm gonna start because I'm gonna be lower on this movie, I think, than you guys. I don't like Paul Rudd as Ant-Man personally.
Holy shit.
I think Ant-Man's one of the worst trilogies in the MCU. Wow. Now this is the best of the three, probably. So for me, it's lower than the Iron Mans. It's in C tier for me. It's not very memorable to me. It didn't speak to me, I guess, is what my point is. As a kid growing up, I didn't hear about Ant-Man as much. This was one of my first like immersions to it, and I don't think I've rewatched it more than once. I think I've watched it in theaters and then watched it once after. The only thing that gives it that up for me is the fact that one of my favorite shows of all time is Lost, and so they have, I forget her name off the top of my head, Kate from Lost, is the Wasp, and I like her. I like her a lot as an actress, and I like Paul Rudd as an actor, but I just don't like him in that role. And his movies have not done well, but yeah, C tier for me, below the Iron Mans.
Yeah, you're right. You are lower than me. I thought Ant-Man, though. I think you can make a obviously very solid argument that the trilogy is the worst of all the trilogies that we have in the MCU. I think most of that comes from the last movie, and I don't think. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I don't think that was a bad movie by any means either. But I thought that this first one was another part of like the Guardians of the Galaxy heat check, where they were just like, we can do anything we want here, and people will watch, and they did. And when it came out, Ant-Man, I think, did such a great job of combining witty humor with superhero stuff. Like Michael Pena was phenomenal as as like the comic relief.
For
So just like he stole the scene every single time he was in it. I think that it had one of the more cohesive casts. I think I just top to bottom, I felt like everybody played their role really well in it, and I think the idea of Ant-Man, where you come in thinking like, well, what exactly are his powers? What, he gets small? Like, what does that actually do? they still like they played it so well, and I think that they did a good job of making you feel like this guy actually can make a big difference.
Yeah, I think I'm coming at this somewhere in between where the two of you are. I don't think it's below the Iron Man sequels, but I have it C tier as well. I think it's a perfectly fine, serviceable movie that never really reaches the heights that it could. I like Paul Rudd as Ant-Man personally. I think that's a good casting, but it's also easily the best of the three. I mean, we'll get to the other two later. It's easily the best of the three.
I feel pretty strong about it being in low B.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's definitely above Age of Ultron.
I'm good with
me,
putting it.
but...
I like Age of Ultron better, so I would put it behind that in C.
And where are you at, Connor?
Well, I think Age of Ultron is D, so like that kind of messes me up a little bit. I'm okay with
throw it top of C then.
I'm okay with putting it. I can put it between Age of Ultron and Iron Man 3. I'm okay with that because y'all are both much higher on Age of Ultron than I am. So
okay,
does that look good to both of you?
Okay.
Ant-Man up there. Okay. Order really pissed Lucky off. We could put it between the two Iron Mans, just to make sure that Iron Man 2 is where it belongs. But
well, we don't need to do that. That's okay.
Okay, that's fair. A slight miss with Age of Ultron, maybe Ant-Man, not one of the elite solo movies. The MCU is picking it right back up here. Captain America Civil War. Sheesh.
I want to start off with this one because y'all are going to be tempted to put this as S. I'm very well, maybe
do
not.
it.
We agree. I don't want to put it there because I think S is like reserved. For me, it's an A, and it's probably one of the highest A's in Marvel Universe. This closes out the Captain America trilogy, which this is honestly an Avengers movie. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
But I thought it was fantastic. I mean, it introduced us to some new characters. Obviously, T'Challa with Black Panther was introduced in this movie. Spider-Man was introduced into this movie, and another fantastic casting, one of the better ones. I love it. I would rewatch it a lot, but I just wouldn't put it in S because I saved those specifically for certain movies. But high A, one of the highest A's that you can give it. I wouldn't be mad if you both said S, but it'd be a low S for me.
So here's why I think it's S tier. For all the reasons you said, obviously, it was just a very good movie. I think that especially the dynamic between Iron Man and Cap,
sure,
and the way that Bucky played into everything, I thought it was a very well-written movie.
Yeah.
The reason why I think it should go up into S is that for a similar reason that I thought Winter Soldier deserves to be an S, is that it was a highly impactful movie on the future of the franchise. It might have been the single most. It probably was, like, other than, I don't know, I guess you could probably say Infinity War, but I feel like it was one of the most impactful stories that we had in the entire thing that we're still feeling the impacts of. Just the way that it fractured and divided the team. Some people never really came back from that. Like, I mean, hell, even down to Iron Man's last breath, like
No, it's gonna be a lot.
they were still like struggling to come back together. So, yeah, I think just in terms of its impact on the entirety of the MCU, it's S tier for me.
I saw it as I was doing research for this tier list, because a lot of these I haven't seen in a while. So as I was doing research, I saw an interesting point, which is that the whole the whole construct behind the boys and like Vought owning superheroes is pretty much what happens if Captain America's fears come true in this movie. Like this is that's pretty much what Captain America thought and feared would happen with the Avengers and that group of superheroes, which I just thought was interesting. It's kind of the parallel there. I think Civil War is the Little Alex of MCU movies in that it is not S tier, but it is the highest possible A tier.
There we go.
Nothing
That is a great.
Oh Lord.
Yep.
Yeah. Throw it up there.
So that's where I have it. Nothing is passing Civil War in A tier, and yet it is A tier. I don't think it's quite at that level of the S's.
No.
Really,
I
really good.
I think Winter Soldier is my lowest S, and I wouldn't put it above it. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, Lucky.
Yeah.
No, I think it's close for me. I think it's a reasonable thing, and I think if we are, I think that S tier should almost be reserved for things that we all just unanimously agree deserve to be on S. I think that's kind of what makes it S tier.
Yeah.
But no, that's reasonable. High A is good.
So yeah, like you said, the dynamic between Captain and Iron Man so good, and the villain, so good.
Mm-hmm.
The original Doctor Strange, which to me is a very interesting one.
I don't have super strong opinions on this. It was a solid movie. It was a good introduction to Doctor Strange. It was there. It existed. Like, I don't really have anything bad or good to say about it. I feel like it's like C-ish / D-ish for me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Connor. I have a bias for Doctor Strange.
A good bias or a bad bias?
A good bias.
I would put this high C tier. I would put it like where we just put Ant-Man. I would probably put Doctor Strange in around that category as well. I think speaking of perfect casting, I think Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is pretty goated. The final fight was so fun, so interesting. And I know that some people kind of saw it as like a cop out, but I think that was really creative, really inventive the way they kind of like handled that at the end. They could go maybe a bit more, I don't know if over the top is the right word. They could get maybe a bit more creative with the sorcery, but at the same time the visuals were really, really cool. Yeah, it's a high C tier for me for Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so I mentioned I have a bias for Doctor Strange because I think he's my favorite MCU character. And Benedict is probably one of my favorite actors as well. So when he got casted for this, I was like, fuck yes! Like, this is going to kill. Was I a little disappointed when the movie came out? A little bit, yeah. But it also really just kind of expands your mind as far as like where threats to the universe can come from. And just like really opened it up, just like, fuck, there's a lot of things that like we had no idea really even existed that could come after us. And just his overall arc in this movie, it kind of happened a little quickly in my opinion, where just like all of a sudden he was a master. But I thought it was fantastic. For me, it's a B movie. You guys aren't going to agree with me. I think if it's going to be in C, I would say it's above Age of Ultron. This is one of my most rewatched movies, but I have a bias. So I'm okay with putting it in C, but I prefer it to be higher than Ant-Man. But, I think you guys are going to outvote me on that one.
Yeah, I definitely got it over the Iron Mans, but I can't put it above Age of Ultron.
I am more than happy to put it above Age of Ultron, but given where we put it,
but you like Ant-Man better.
I like Doctor Strange. Like, actually, the more I think about it, I like Doctor Strange quite a bit more than Ant-Man. So I'd be okay with putting it highest C tier personally.
Yeah, I'm cool under Age of Ultron before Ant-Man if Lucky is.
So long as it's above the Iron Mans, that's all I care about.
Oh, it's above,
okay, cool.
It's above the. What? My brother has walked in and he's giving me a look. What's your take? Come drop it. What's your take on Doctor Strange?
Come on.
Ant-Man's better than Doctor Strange!
Yeah, no, it is. He's right.
No, you know what? Here's the mic. Give your rationale. Why is Ant-Man better?
He likes the tee-hee of Marvel as opposed to the...
Ant-Man's better because Ant-Man's a cool guy. Like,
And Doctor Strange isn't.
Okay.
nuh-uh.
No lies detected.
Give me this back. Give me this
Yeah,
back.
I'd rather have a beer with Ant-Man, but
That just derailed the whole show.
yeah. All right, throw it in between Age of Ultron and Ant-Man.
Quantum Mania is Marvel's best work ever. All right, yeah, get out of this damn room. Get out of this damn room right now.
Yeah, hold on a minute.
Yeah, we'll he's joking to be clear, but yeah, I'll put it between Ultron and Ant-Man. That's fine with me.
All right.
You think Multiverse is better than the original one? Okay, we'll get to that later as well. All right, now getting back. I actually might agree with that. Getting back to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
We put the first one in A.
We put the first one in A.
Yeah, I think I got this as B. Low B, high C. It was like another. I just you love the team so much, and they added Mantis in this time around. I feel like this is where Drax kind of really leaned into being comedic relief, and he did it really well.
Mm-hmm.
It's my least favorite of the three, but that's mostly because the other two were just really damn good. But I feel pretty good about it in B.
For me, it's a C. I feel like it's a very forgettable movie. I think it's mostly because the first one surprised a lot of people so much that they had such much higher expectations for the second one, and then it let you down a lot. Which I think kind of leans into my opinion of it, which is a C movie. I think it's above Ant-Man, but below Doctor Strange. But it still kept the the soundtrack going as one of the better soundtracks. Characters you love only got better. But for me, I think it was just a letdown after that first one, and I just did not like the villain. I can't think of his name.
Ego.
The actor,
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Yeah, I just wasn't feeling it.
He was
later on in
forgettable.
What If. I didn't really like him in that either. It might just be biases, but for me, it's a C movie. That's my opinion. I just think it's very forgettable.
I think for the first 45 minutes, hour of this movie, it was borderline as good as the original Guardians of the Galaxy. And then as soon as they introduced Ego, and as soon as they got into Chris Pratt's whole backstory, I don't know why I'm saying Chris Pratt's Star-Lord's backstory. It just kind of fell off the rails for me a little bit. I did not like the Act 3. I'd be okay, low B, high C is kind of where I'm leaning as well. Do either of you feel strongly about whether it should be in B or C? Because I'm kind of right between those two personally.
I don't feel super strongly, and my preference would be low B.
Okay.
But
you know what?
What do you think, Connor? What do you say? You think it's a C or B? Or
I'm not really sure. I'm probably putting it. I'll put it between Avengers and Doctor Strange. I'll put it.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I was going to recommend. And I love Doctor Strange, so
I do know you love Doctor Strange. This is facts. All right. Oh man, I love this one. Spider-Man.
We got to start rolling through these a little faster. But...
Yeah, that's fine. We can go speed mode. Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Go ahead, Lucky.
Tom Holland was a phenomenal casting. They completely nailed it. I think of all the Spider-Man that we've had, no disrespect to Tobey or Andrew, I think he's the best one. I think he encapsulates the character the best. And the reveal with Michael Keaton as the Vulture was excellent. Just everything about it, or as his girlfriend's dad, I should say. It was so well done, and so intimidating. Loved the movie. Loved everything about it. Great introduction. I've got that one up in A tier.
I also love it. Not as much, I think, because for me, it's the highest B we'd have. I can't see the A's that we have right now, but it's the highest B for sure. Better than Iron Man, below Guardians of the Galaxy. So I would say then low A's for me. Tom Holland's amazing. Getting Iron Man back in there, and just I really like the fact, because I didn't read the comics, but I knew in the comics Iron Man was really very much a mentor to Spider-Man. Which I was like, man, when I found that out later, when I knew about the Tobey Maguire ones, I was like, I wish they could have had those in those ones. But definitely the best Spider-Man, fantastic casting. Even Ned, his best friend, fantastic casting. Just a fantastic movie. Second best Spider-Man movie. I'd put it at low A.
I am of the strong belief now and forever that Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man, and that he got hoed by some really rough Sony movies. But I think as a pure
I get it.
actor, I think Andrew Garfield's the best. But this to me is
as your actor,
this to me is easily the best of the three MCU Spider-Men. You said, probably an S tier villain, just top tier with Michael Keaton as Vulture, and and way to kind of establish Spider-Man in the MCU as well. Yeah, A tier for me. Very solid. Thor Ragnarok.
This is one of the ones that if I wanted to be less stingy with S tier, I would put it up there.
Yeah.
It rewrote the character in such a phenomenal way. Not even like a rewrite, but it retooled what it is that people enjoy about him. Taika Waititi came in and just gave the perfect level of his personality to it. Yeah, everything that they did with Thor Ragnarok was just amazing. It would be S tier if I felt like I wasn't worried about bloating the category, but for that reason, probably high A is where I'd probably put it.
I'm with Lucky because when I see it and I rewatch the movie, I'm like, this is on S tier, but I just can't because I'm just stingy with S tier, like Lucky. It should be saved. I don't think it's better than the S tier that we have up there now, Captain America: Winter Soldier. But it is by far, in my opinion, that's the funniest MCU movie. You said, I forget which movie you said was Ant-Man or something.
It was Guardians.
But this one, in my opinion, Guardians. Yeah, I think it's funny.
I agree.
This is probably, other than movies that we're about to get to here shortly, is my most rewatched MCU movie. So I definitely say highest of A's over Civil War.
I would not put it over Civil War. I think it's like mid A personally. Thor Ragnarok. And that's no disrespect.
Yeah, for me, it's interchangeable with Civil.
All right. It's really good. It's really good. But no, it's not S tier, and I don't have it above Civil War either. I think. I mean, they could.
I'd say put it there between Civil War and OG Avengers. I think is reasonable.
Okay.
Fine by me. Yep.
Fine, but
this quality went way down. If that's my fault or yours.
Dude, this is a fucking heater of a run for the MCU.
I zoomed out so that we could see like the entire tier list at once. I don't know.
No, that wasn't that. I think
it looks good.
Okay. For me, my quality went. It was my fault. It's on my end.
All right. Yeah. Speaking of the heater, we're on Black Panther.
I have an opinion people aren't going to like on this next one.
Oh my goodness, Black Panther, the OG.
I'm gonna be the most negative on it, I think, and I think it's mostly just because I saw it late, like after a couple weeks it was in theater, and just hearing just how amazing it was is incredible. So I'm thinking like it's better than Thor Ragnarok, and I don't think it was. I think it was a fantastic introduction, and I think it was a good movie, and I love Michael B. Jordan, and I wish we had more Michael B. Jordan. But for me, this movie is. From what we're looking at right now, it would be the highest B. But I don't think it's an A tier movie, which I think both of you were going to say it's an A tier movie. But for me, I think it's a B tier, and I think it's mostly just because of the anticipation that came along with it. And best costumes of any movie. That's yes. There's no argument there in my opinion. But maybe low A, but a highest B for me.
I've got it equivalent to Ragnarok. It's in that same tier for me. A huge part of it is Michael B. Jordan. I think he is the second best villain in the MCU. He and the only person I have above him got to be a villain in like 8 different movies. Sure. Thanos. But yeah, Michael B. Jordan. I thought he had one of the best MOs. He had one of the best backstories of any villain. He was the most believable and understandable of why he was doing what he was doing, even if you didn't agree with him. Michael B. Jordan, I think, is a phenomenal actor, so he played the role so well. I think his choice at the end to be a martyr and die rather than be rescued by who he views as his oppressors was an incredibly strong message for me. I don't know. I think a big part of why I view Black Panther so highly is because I view Killmonger's story as highly as I do. Not to say the rest of it isn't also fantastic, but yeah, no, I've got it equal to Ragnarok.
Sounds like I'm between you two. I think it's clearly A tier, but I do not have it in that like high tier interchangeable with Civil War Ragnarok. Killmonger, like you said, incredible villain. I have nothing to add there. I think as a collective, as a movie, it does not stand with like the absolute best of the MCU, but still really, really good. I'd be happy to put it like between Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, like in that mid A tier.
What are you, Connor?
That's kind of
that works for me.
Yeah, where we're leaning there.
Yeah. I think if we put it anywhere in A, I'd be content.
Yeah, I think like in a weird way, yes, slightly overrated, but still like really good. So yeah, that's fine with me. Avengers Infinity War. If this goes anywhere but S, I'm gonna throw hands with both of you.
No, I don't
Easy
think
yes?
Lucky and I are. Yeah, this is an easy yes. This I don't think this needs a lot of talk.
Yep.
Easy S tier, arguably the best MCU movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Um,
think this will end up being number 1 in S tier for me by the end.
yeah.
Yeah. This is.
We can go into detail on it, but I don't. Yeah.
This is the only MCU movie that I would put on my Mount Rushmore of best overall superhero movies. For me, it's Dark Knight, Logan, Avengers: Infinity War, and then shit. What was the fourth one? Oh my god, I'm pulling a Rick Perry. What was the fourth one? Oh god,
Multiverse of Madness.
Yes, Multiverse of Madness. Now, I genuinely forget, but yeah, Infinity War is just peak MCU.
Spider-Man
the peak
2?
of what can possibly be. No, it was. I'll think of it later. It's fine. I don't want to derail this whole thing, but yeah,
Sure.
it is the best MCU movie. Because I didn't read the comics, right? I didn't know all these people could like come back from the snap, so I felt like I'd taken a punch to the gut leaving the theater. My friend actually, shout out to B-Man, I saw this with B-Man, like he's read all the comics, he knew they were coming back, so he was like laughing at me because I walked out of there like I had just seen like my dog die or something. I was just like, oh my god, Spider-Man's dead and everyone's dead, what's happening? So good. Such a good movie.
The gap between this movie and the next movie was the longest. It felt the longest.
Yes. It absolutely felt the longest. It was so good.
Yeah, they absolutely nailed it. They killed it. Like
the end of
no notes.
Avengers saga, Avengers Endgame.
This for me, it's an S above. In my opinion, this is better than Infinity War, but I'm going to be outvoted on that, and it's only because this is my most rewatched Avengers movie, or rewatched MCU movie. I watched this one probably at least 20 times, and it's mostly just because the way I feel at the end and the battle scenes at the end, and just that whole arc coming together. Whereas Infinity War is probably a better movie in general, just like thematically and everything like that. But Endgame is my most rewatched movie, my most beloved movie. I can't go with it probably a couple months without watching it. So that's my opinion. It's an S above the Captain America, Winter Soldier, but probably going to be below Infinity War from you guys.
Yeah. No, I think I don't think there's any wrong way to put Infinity War and Endgame. Personally, I have Infinity War above it just because I do think it was a better, more cohesive plot and story. I thought it was just better from that sense. I think where Endgame struggled a little bit in that regard was just because they were trying to hit so much of the nostalgia and wrapping up and making you remember why you cared about all these characters for the last decade and a half. And they did that so well that I think that they kind of had to take some liberties at points with like pacing and the story itself. But that's barely even a knock on it. It accomplished exactly what it needed to, and it did it so well. And it wrapped up, 20 movies, I think? 25, somewhere in that range. And just one of the most satisfying ways you could.
For me, it's almost hard to even rank Endgame or tier it, I should say, because you almost have to consider it from two different vantage points. One of them is, as both of you were saying, is this culmination of this epic saga of like 20 movies, with all these characters that you've grown to care about that each have their own, multi-movie sagas and interweaving plot points and stuff in which it did an incredible job. And then as an actual movie in which I'd have it high B tier. So I am not really sure how to interweave those two things. I don't think it's anywhere near what Infinity War is, to be clear. I think Infinity War is the far better, both as a setup movie, like what it tried to do, and as just like a movie as a whole. I think Infinity War is far better. I would be happy to put Endgame high A tier. Or I mean, if y'all feel like it deserves to be an S, then maybe it goes
an S tier, and I will fight.
I feel.
The table
yeah, no, I feel confident. I feel strongly that it should be S tier.
Do you think it's above Winter Soldier, Lucky?
I'm gonna say no. Okay. I think it should be the bottom of S tier.
Yeah. For the record, I think it's better than Winter Soldier, but as long as it's S tier, I'm happy.
All right, well, it's S tier. You got it. No, we move on from all that. It's Mysterio time. Spider-Man Far From Home.
This is a big letdown for me. I'm going to kick it off saying it's a C movie. And this is probably of the Spider-Man movies my least rewatched. Very forgetful in my opinion. It was just okay. For me, that's why I would put it in a C tier.
I'm going B. It was nothing amazing, nothing incredible, but it was still Spider-Man. I don't think they've failed Spider-Man yet since bringing him into the MCU.
That's fair.
I think that this movie, I think Mysterio, it was kind of fascinating how they did Mysterio, how he just ended up being a con artist, illusion guy, rather than somebody with actual powers. And I didn't hate it. I think they did a good job of
Mysterio saying they were in Universe 626, not even realizing that was what it was labeled.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, it was. I think it was a good movie. It's not anything amazing, but it's definitely better than Age of Ultron. It's better than all those C tier ones for me. I feel good about it in B. I'd probably put it over. I'd probably put it at the top of those two that we have in B right now. I'd put it over Thor and Captain America.
Kind of break the tie.
I think each Tom Holland Spider-Man movie is a pretty giant step down from the one before it, and yes, I'm including No Way Home in that, which we'll get to. But
okay.
I have this as the lowest B, below Iron Man, below Thor. I really like Mysterio. I think Mysterio hard carries this movie, and is the only reason dragging it up from the C tier. But
Okay.
funny movie too. I mean, all the Tom Holland movies are funny, but I like the kind of teen comedy, like Getting Lost in Europe, that type of thing. Tom Holland and Zendaya, the chemistry just leaping off the screen at you, and of course, anything with Zendaya in it, I'm inclined to rate pretty highly. Just yee. Yeah, lowest B tier, I would say, for Spider-Man: Far From Home.
That's fine.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I couldn't tell you a single thing about, even though I've seen it.
Lucky, kick us off.
Kind of another mid movie. Feel like I'm probably gonna end up putting it in C. Like right in the middle of everything that we have in C. I'd probably put it over the Iron Man, but below Doctor Strange. I thought, again, I liked Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. I thought he continued his role there. The cast stayed really strong. We got to see more of the Wasp, which was cool. I also really like Evangeline Lilly, so she was a really nice addition to it. I didn't find myself caring that much about the whole mom stuck in the quantum realm plot. It just kind of it was whatever, and the villain was highly forgettable, like one of the worst. But in spite of all that, it was still just a fun movie. I really liked the direction that they took with the trilogy in terms of even Quantum Mania. I like the type of humor that they do, and I like Paul Rudd. And so even when I don't think the movie's great, I still find it enjoyable. But yeah, probably right there in the middle of C for me.
It's a D for me. One of the most forgettable MCU movies for me. Watched it in theater. I don't think I've watched it again since. Wasted the villain. Not a fan.
Yeah, it's a D for me as well. I'm happy to put it above Incredible Hulk, which I've never seen.
You never seen it? Yeah,
but it's high D for me. I just the most forgettable of the movies so far. And I'd rewatch The Dark World before I'd rewatch Ant-Man and the Wasp and I'm not saying it's a bad
movie. Wild.
I'm
okay.
not saying it's a better movie. But
I'd have to rewatch them both to figure out which one I'd want to less rewatch.
Not saying it's a better movie. There's reasons we have Dark World and Hell, but I think I would be more entertained watching Dark World.
That's insane to me. Okay, no, that's fine.
That's fine. We'll get some more insane takes later.
How about it? Sorry, man. You were staying mid-season anyway, so that's not too far off.
Yeah, we're fine.
I don't think we've ever been more than one letter away.
Nah, yeah. Captain Marvel.
We had in the beginning. We had a B, C, D. Which one was that?
That was
one of us was D.
The very first one that we rated, we were all different spots.
Was it Age of Ultron?
No,
yeah, I had Age of Ultron B. Did you guys both have it?
It was Age of Ultron. I had Age of Ultron D. Yeah, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
We settled on that, but Captain Marvel.
Captain America. Captain Marvel. Yeah, whoops.
D.
I don't understand the hate.
I hate women, so
Damn!
I don't really have a choice.
Clip it.
It was another forgettable movie, through no fault of Brie Larson or the rest of the cast. There wasn't a whole lot that I cared about with it. I think that future iterations of the character have been far better than what we saw in that. Just this movie, they didn't get it right. I didn't care about the villains. I didn't care about her thing. I liked seeing younger Nick Fury. That was cool. That was a redeeming part. Yeah, I don't know. That's a D tier for me.
I enjoyed Captain Marvel. I don't understand the hate, and I feel bad for Brie Larson because I feel like she's the most hated casting.
Wow. Yeah.
for some reason. Even though I don't feel like it's her fault at all. I feel like she's done a fantastic job. I think she's sexy as hell. But Captain Marvel, for me, I don't think it was fantastic. I rewatch it for sure. Like if you were like, hey, you want to watch Captain Marvel? I'm not gonna be like, hell no. So for me, that makes it a C. So I'd throw it in there, above the Iron Man's, probably below Ant-Man.
I would put it lowest C tier. I think it's better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. Cool. I think it's one of the more.
As long as it's not D.
Yeah. I don't think it's D. It's one of the more paint by numbers MCU films, especially as kind of a introductory film to Captain Marvel. I just thought it was very just generic. But generic doesn't always mean bad. It was fine. Brie Larson, the slander campaign against her from a lot of MCU fans is very odd, and we could get into that. But yeah,
can't wait to get to the opinions on these series.
I'd put it lowest C. Speaking of someone who just holds a great deal of love in my heart, Elizabeth Olsen in WandaVision.
What do you think about the show?
The first 4 episodes were dope. First 4 episodes were awesome. I almost have to split it up into like the first half and the second half.
That's exactly how I feel.
I was deeply disappointed with how it concluded. Deeply.
Yep. They started with such a strong and entertaining and novel concept, and then by the end, it was just another CGI slugfest. Like, it felt like it went from like a psychological thriller, and then immediately was just cookie cutter. Let's just put 2 superpower people in front of a green screen, and we'll put the explosions in later. It felt, by the end, it was very disappointing to me. I'd probably have it in like, I don't know, mid C. I don't know, maybe low B. It did start from such a strong place, and I like where Vision ended up, like where his story went. I'll change my mind. I think it's a low B.
I was with you till you changed it. I think it's a mid C. And ironically, I remember watching the first few episodes thinking like, what the fuck is this? Because this is the first Marvel series. And then once I kind of like, when somebody explained to me what they're like thematically they were doing, I was like, okay, yeah, actually, you know what? That's pretty cool. And so watching it back a second time, I appreciated the beginning more. And I still remember like one of the like moments for me and like almost all of Marvel was when they introduced the Quicksilver from Fox. I forget his name. Fantastic actor. But when he came in there, I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And so I love that. That's what puts in C for me. I wasn't a huge fan of the show in general. I love Elizabeth Olsen. But for me, it's a mid C. I wouldn't kill you guys if you said you wanted to put it in a B, but for me, it's a mid C.
Yeah, I'm putting it lowest B, below Spider-Man Far From Home, but also I think above the stuff that's in C. I give it points for creativity and ingenuity with like what they tried to do with the opening half of that season. I think they executed it extremely well, and I think I think the slow build of revealing like, oh, not everything's as it seems in this kind of fantasy sitcom world. I think they handled that really well, and it gave me like a legitimate sense of dread at this point at certain points, which I don't get from a lot of these movies or TV shows. So I give points for that. They fucked up the ending. They bungled the ending, but
and I think they really wanted Agatha to be a thing. And I don't think it picked up what they thought it would, which I think they tried to do like Agatha's Alone series, and I think that's been kind of scrapped, and like they tried to like mix it with something. I forget what they call it now, but I don't think it kind of went the way they wanted to.
I think something that's going to be a common trend amongst almost all of the shows is strong start, bad finish.
Yes.
The MCU, one of the biggest issues that they've had with the shows is that they have struggled to land them.
Yes. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah.
I'm going to start off with this one, and this might be a hot take, but I hated this show, and I watched it all the way through, and I felt like I wasted my time. For me, this is an F. I did not enjoy the show at all. The only part that I liked was, and I forget the actor's name, but the guy that was, the original Super Soldier. I thought that was a very interesting storyline. I liked that a lot. Yeah. But the rest, didn't really like, although I do like the relationship between Falcon and Winter Soldier, the fact that they kind of hate each other but kind of don't at the same time. Those are the only things that made it somewhat enjoyable for me. The villain was terrible. Didn't get that at all. For me, it's an F.
Trying to even remember it.
There you go. Maybe that explains it.
Like, was there another villain other than so there was the Captain America, the new Captain America guy, Wyatt Russell.
Well, there was
like
there as well that I'm forgetting, like the
they had the little curly haired girl.
Didn't where did we leave Shannon Carter? Is she like? She ended up being like the bad guy, didn't she? Or maybe just an untrustworthy
No,
person?
I think she was part of. I forget the main girls, who popped up at the end of Black Widow too. Um,
Oh
and
yeah. From Veep. Fuck, what was her name?
I don't know, but for me, it's an F. What do you rate it?
Dreyfus.
Yeah.
Julia Louis Dreyfus. I've got this in low C, high D.
Mm.
Yeah, it was another movie or another show that they failed to land. I think I appreciated that they finally, in some property, addressed the fact that the blip would create mass like destabilization of the world. They just kind of ignore the ramifications of that. I feel like most places in the MCU, and this is the first place where they actually dealt with the ramifications of it. So I appreciated them for taking that on. But in the end,
Doesn't
it's
even
still
matter.
kind of just like it. Yeah, just it's forgettable, and there not a lot happened. It ultimately came down to new Captain America giving a rousing speech, and that saves the world. Like
And
I
and the
just
speech sucks too. Let's be clear about that.
and
I
it
mean,
wasn't a good speech.
I'm not listening to that
Yeah.
speech and being like, "Let me change my ways." Low D. I think F might be a bit harsh. There were some
Sure.
good elements that I think keep it out of F, but not good.
D's cool.
Not good.
Yeah.
Just not good. That's my hot take for y'all. Gridiron saying one of the only spin-off series I finished, so for that it gets a D. Fair enough.
Spin-off? I don't know if they can call it a spin-off, but anyways.
I guess like just shows, MCU shows.
Yeah.
Loki, which they do not have split up into season 1 and season 2, so we're kind of gonna have to lump them together. But Loki as a entire show.
You want to?
I'm gonna
I
go
kind of want
A
to start
tier.
with this because I'm very passionate about Loki.
Go for it. Go for
Go
it.
ahead.
I think this is one of the best projects they've done. In my opinion, this is the only S tier series.
Putting in an S tier.
And this show introduced us to Jonathan Majors, who I'm very disappointed of everything that happened legally and having to let him go and everything like that. And obviously, the things that he's done. And they had to do what they had to do. But he was amazing as He Who Remains. And as Victor Timely in the second season. For me, this is an S tier. I wouldn't be mad. You probably lower than S tier, which is fine. But I have a soft spot for anything that has to do with time travel. So obviously there's a lot of that kind of went into that. And so for me, this is S tier show. I just loved everything about it. This is the only series that I was watching the minute it came out. And so that's just my opinion on it. And then it really made us love Loki. Really took him to becoming just a really likable person and just going through his arc. The ending of season 2, which is the end of the show. I don't anticipate there's going to be a third season. That'd be kind of boring just watching him sit there. But yeah, fantastic. S tier. You're probably not going to put it there with me, but by far the best series, in my opinion.
I've definitely got it in A tier. I struggle definitely to put it over Ragnarok or Civil War. But I'm with you on almost everything. Like it was very well done. Like Loki himself, his arc from his first appearance in the franchise to his last, it was just a wonderful ride. Loved everything about it. I don't really have a whole lot else to add. I can't put it in S tier, but that's far from a knock on it. What do you got, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, pretty clearly the best show. I mean, it's almost tough to say, like, do we want to kind of rank the shows on their own curve? Because if you want to do that, then yes, it is S. As a
Right.
collective, if you include it with the movies, yeah, I struggle to put it over Civil War. I'd be okay putting it over Ragnarok personally, but yeah, I struggle to put it over Civil War. I think Lucky and I are leaning more A tier, so that's
fine.
probably where it's gonna
I
go. But
said it would probably happen. I rewatched Loki more than I'd watched Civil War.
by a mile the best show. By a mile.
By a mile,
for sure. Easy.
Behind Civil War's fine.
And I just, love me some Tom Hiddleston and everything he does. I mean, if they bring him back off some bullshit, I won't even complain, just because I just want to see more Loki on my screen.
Certainly can. Yeah.
Black Widow, which I'm just now realizing that is the only MCU movie I've not seen, so I have no takes for this one.
I'll put that in F.
Yeah, throw it in F. I honestly thought Lucky would have a higher opinion on it because I know he's a big Florence Pugh fan.
Yeah, I mean, it had its moments. It was entertaining, but it just like
It's not
it got made.
necessary.
A big part of it there was no reason to wait to make it. If it had come out before Black Widow had died in Endgame, it would have made so much more.
Well, the ending series or the ending scene was kind
Yeah.
of important for that. But
It,
it wasn't. It wasn't. It was.
but the movie itself was just like they gave
And
us like
Taskmaster, one of the worst villains.
they completely wasted Taskmaster. Like another one that he's like he's like a fast talking merc, and they literally made Taskmaster a mute. Like it made no sense. Like Taskmaster, it's one of the cooler villains we could have gotten, and they just completely destroyed him. That was incredibly disappointing. But
And it also
no,
ruined
it just yeah, it wasn't made at the right time. It felt like they were forced to do it for legal reasons. There's like a whole lot of stuff I think going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It just tanked in every sense. It was like the first movie we got after several years of COVID delays. And to come out with that after having to wait so long really sucked. I don't know, man. I've got nothing really good to say about it. Obviously, it was another entertaining like action movie. I don't really have any desire to watch it again.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to go with whatever you two say about it, because I had no interest, because I was like, well, they killed her off already, so why would I go back and watch her solo movie? What if?
Yeah, we know. Yeah. What? Have you seen this one, Connor?
I've seen a couple
Both
episodes.
of them? Both seasons?
No,
Oh, a couple
not
episodes.
even close.
Okay.
What If's pretty cool.
I think it's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
I would watch What Ifs forever. Now, and then they introduced a original character, which I actually really enjoyed that episode in season 2. What If for me as a series is a B. I like it way better than WandaVision personally.
Like B.
But for me, it's a B.
Yeah, it's super fun.
And it's animated, so they can
There's-
kind of do whatever they want with it. They
Yeah,
don't have
exactly.
original actors voice
And I thought
acting.
I really liked the animation style that they used. Also, I thought that worked very well for the format.
The fourth Mount Rushmore superhero movie that I forgot is Into the Spider-Verse.
That's
Gotcha.
It's completely different, but
Yeah.
anyways.
Well, I mean, yeah, superhero movie, and you saying animated made it click in my head. So yeah, it's
There you go. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
That's
Dark Knight,
yeah.
Infinity War,
Both of them,
Logan,
honestly.
Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I mean across shit might be up there too. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
I love this one.
Yeah, I'm
A tier.
happy with A tier. Yeah,
This is my second most rewatched MCU film behind Endgame. I just watched this yesterday. I love Shang-Chi. It was the biggest surprise for me. And just that bus scene that kind of kicked it off is one of my favorite fight scenes in MCU.
probably
a little disappointed we haven't seen him since this movie,
Right.
which it makes sense why he hasn't been in here, but it's an A for me. It's one of the higher A's in between Thor Ragnarok and Avengers for me, or higher than Ragnarok, but somewhere in there.
I struggle to think of a better post-Endgame movie or show. I mean, Shang-Chi's Shang-Chi's awesome. I love it.
Shang-Chi's
it's definitely
the
up
movie
there.
after Endgame, in my opinion.
Post-Endgame is what I'm saying. Like, after all that concluded, yeah. It's one of the best
Yeah, it's
ones.
definitely up there. Yeah, easy A for me, somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah. I'm okay with it. Yeah,
Cool.
really good
Next.
introduction. Hope we see more of him soon. The Eternals.
Oh, did you guys go?
Yeah, I'll kick this one off. I remember like when they released the cast and the director, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be different, and I'm gonna like it a lot. Like, this is gonna be fantastic." And it was just okay, and I was kind of a little disappointed. In the movie in general, for me, I feel like it's one of the most hated MCU movies, and I'm not there. I'm not there at hating it. But it's definitely in the C in tier for me. I really had higher hopes for it, and we haven't seen any of the characters since, I don't think. Then they teased the I forget the actor's name, but Jon Snow at the end.
Kit Harington.
Gonna have a bigger, it's another one of those movies where they there's a lot of like end credit scenes that take like years to actually like get back to. But yeah, for me it's a C, low C.
I struggle with how much of it was like studio interference versus how much of it was, Chloe Zhao, maybe her style not working, with superhero movies or the MCU in general. But yeah, when I saw she was directing, because Nomadland is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think that is an incredible, incredible movie. And when I heard that, the director of Nomadland was doing it, I was like, oh my God, like, this is going to be dope. This is going to be different. I'm here for it. And then I saw it, and I agree. I didn't hate it, but I was like,
Yeah.
super forgettable.
One of the ones that you wish you waited till it was on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's in like the Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp range for me of like lowest C or highest D. I'm okay putting it in either direction.
Lucky?
I think it's one of those movies that like everybody talks about it like it's an F, like just the
It's
general
not an F.
consensus. It feels
Yeah.
like, but it's not. Like
Yeah.
I think it's better than people give it credit for, but it's also not a good movie. I think it had the single dumbest thing.
You cut out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was confused. Did we lose Lucky? Yeah.
You still here, Lucky?
I think he said he put it lower because he still hates women. And there's a lot of women
That
in the
is what he
movie.
said. Yeah. Female
think-
director. He said he put it in
Yeah.
auto hell tier.
Yeah.
But CMAS and I, we're not built like that, so we're gonna
No.
put it. You want to say low C, like below Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
That's
Throw
fine
it.
with me.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, sure. That's fine. As long as it's C, not D. As long as it's in C, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm kind of ambivalent on whether it goes in C or D, so I'm okay with putting it low C. Yeah, Lucky we cannot hear you, so whenever you're able to get back, let us know. But for now, we'll talk about, and this is not helpful because I've never seen this, so CMAS is all on you. But Hawkeye, the show.
I got you. This is one it introduced us to obviously. I don't know why I'm blanking on actors' names right now. But the girl from freaking Pitch Perfect.
Jesus.
But I got excited when she was cast for this role. And I think she's going to be a lot bigger deal in future movies that we haven't come out yet. But it's just okay. Like I wouldn't say it's D. I would put it in C as well. And I just, I could have this one. I just kind of waited till they were all out and then watched them all the way through. I could have lived without it. I'm not sure what we gained from it, to be honest, other than an introduction to the character and to Echo, who also will get to her series later. But yeah, just a C for me.
C for you. This is
Lucky can give his opinion when he comes back. I think he might be back now. Lucky.
Hello?
There he
hello.
is.
Yes, hi.
Thoughts on Hawkeye, Lucky?
I have to
Yeah,
switch
Hawkeye.
my things. I don't know why my thing cut out. I just want to say something real quick about Eternals. I agree with where we put it.
We already
but
finished
it had-
before you. We already told everyone that you hated women, and that's why you wanted to put it lower.
No, I heard that part. That wasn't what I was going to say, but thank you. I appreciate it. No, I think it had the single dumbest plot point that we've seen in the entirety of the MCU, in that the core of the Earth turned into a giant like alien, and the world just kept working the way it was supposed to. And they never talked about that again.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing that
think
happened.
in one of the Spider-Man movies. It's like on the TV. And that's
Yeah.
it.
Like the Earth was terraformed, and it just didn't change a single thing about the way anybody lives their life. I think that's insane. But anyways,
I just don't know where my science went in these MCU movies, man. Come on now. Dan, I know you're with me. What's going on here?
Okay.
Florence Pugh was awesome, as C-Matt's alluded to before. Big fan of her. She was great. I think Kate is going to be a really strong character moving forward. I'm excited the groundwork that they're laying for a Young Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a really solid one. It's probably low B for me.
Yeah, I said C. Yeah.
So we'll put it like mid C maybe to split the difference between the two of you. All right. Oh god.
I'd put it
Oh
below
lord.
the
Oh
Iron
lord.
Man. Yeah.
Okay, having a little bit of lag here, but that's
Yeah.
okay. We got there in the end. Okay. So this is the first movie where I remember having heated disagreements with my Better League brothers in the chat. I already kind of telegraphed my thoughts on this one. I think each Tom Holland Spider-Man is a pretty big step down from the one below, but I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts. Spider-Man No Way Home.
Go ahead, Lucky.
Oh, I okay. I'll go. I think it's. I don't think it's as good as a lot of people do.
Mhm.
I think it was one of the first times that all the spoilers that came out for an MCU movie somewhat ruined it for me. I think the theater experience of seeing all those guys come back for the first time would have been just one of the greatest things I'd ever witnessed in theater if I didn't know it was going to happen. That was a bit of a bummer for me. And I think that having those guys back, because all the Spideys that came back, they just all did phenomenal and they had such great chemistry and they worked really well together. I do think it kind of overshadowed some issues with the movie itself.
Mhm.
I definitely don't think I feel as strongly as Connor does. I still would probably have it high B, low A. Like, I still think it was a really good movie, but I think it had so much more potential that didn't live up to.
Yeah, this for me was one of the better theater experiences that I had because I think I saw it on the release day. So we didn't have like those clips of seeing those guys and when they came in that came online and stuff like that. But later on, rewatches of it at home, it just kind of was like, oh, this is like it's good, but it's nowhere like because when it first came out and saw it in theaters, like S tier, let's go. But later on, after rewatching it, I'm kind of like, okay, it was really good. I'd put it as an A tier. It's my favorite Spider-Man movie that they've had, so I'd put it over Homecoming. I might get pushback on that from Connor, but it's A tier for sure.
You would get extreme pushback
Not
on
better
that from
than
me.
Shang-Chi. Not better than Shang-Chi.
If it were up to me, this would be low C, high D. I think
Yeah,
it was.
that's absurd.
I think this was a great, like you said, theater experience, a great spectacle. I think it's an absolute fucking mess as a movie. I think like the plot points do not make sense the way they're threaded together. I think it completely ruined the character of Doctor Strange. It turned him into an absolute just passive dumbass who just like let this kid just like do whatever he wanted. And for it to do that to like one of my favorite MCU characters was really, really tough. I think it was cool seeing all the boys together. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland. I get that, and I get the appeal. And I'm not saying it's like trash whatsoever, but I am like sound like way lower on than the two of you. I'm outvoted, so I'm cool with like kind of letting the two of you decide where this is on the tier. But I was very, very disappointed with this movie when it came out, and I think it's aged even more poorly upon a rewatch.
I'm good with it as long as it's below Shang-Chi and A.
I mean, I think it should be A, but I think we should stick with what we've been doing and try to roughly average out the three of us. So if we want to go bottom B to account for the fact that Connor really hates it.
Bottom B? I can't do that.
I'm just saying, Connor's opinion's gotta matter, man.
Hey, I don't know.
I don't think it should be there, but Connor's opinion's gotta matter. He feels that strongly.
I mean, his opinion matters.
I'm okay with putting it high B. Like, do y'all want it like between what Captain America and Thor? Is that okay with you?
Me, no, but it's gonna happen. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's not where I think it should be. But yes, okay. I'm okay with putting it there.
I'll say the fact that both of you think it's better than Far From Home is ridiculous to me. But I also understand that I'm outvoted.
Far From Home? Yeah, I think it's better than Homecoming too.
Oh
God!
I wouldn't say that. Ooh, okay, I'm about to. Okay, I gotta control myself because I was told everyone I wasn't gonna scream down this $10 mic, and here I am doing it.
That's all right. We'll move on.
Here's a much less controversial one. Moon Knight.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to spend too much time on it. Cool movie or cool show, cool concept. I thought it dealt with complex issues really well, but then unfortunately, like some of the other shows, it devolved into CGI fight between bad guys that I don't really care about at the end, or by superheroes and bad guys that just kind of felt like, okay, that's how we're going to solve all our problems. Cool. So,
yeah, I love Oscar Isaac in it. I thought he did a fantastic job. Yeah. Obviously, basically playing two characters throughout, and then obviously a third character towards the end. Sorry for the spoilers. But I thought it was interesting. It really does. It doesn't feel like an MCU show at all. It just kind of feels like it's its own thing. So it was different, a little darker, and I thought, again, I think Oscar Isaac did a fantastic job, and
yeah,
I'm really big on like Egyptian mythology, so like having that stuff in there too made it more enjoyable for me. For me, it's I think it's better than WandaVision. I enjoyed it more. I would throw it in that same B category, but I feel like you guys might be a little lower on it. As long as it's over Hawkeye, I'm fine with it.
No, listen, I am perfectly fine with putting it above WandaVision. I have no problem with that.
Good.
How about let's do low B.
Low B?
Yeah, we could. I mean, as long as it's in B. I mean, I'm okay if you put it behind WandaVision, as long as people listen to the stream and clip it and say I did not.
No, I think it's better than WandaVision. I think it's better. Like now peak like. See, it's tough because I almost have to split WandaVision up into like two different things, but like the ending was just so disappointing for WandaVision that like I'm happy to put Moon Knight above it.
To be fair though, I don't even remember what the ending of Moon Knight was.
Well, that's because it was such a strong story, and then all of a sudden it's all right. Now
I remember the last scene, but I don't remember like the ending. But I wouldn't put it over What If, but as long as it's in B, it's fine.
I once again realized that I've been ignoring the chat for a while. Hi, Dan!
Fine.
He says he likes listening to his friends talk about things he doesn't know about, which, I appreciate that. It's a very good Spider-Man movie mixed with an awful Doctor Strange movie. I don't hate that take. Yeah, like I said, I think they butchered the Doctor Strange character. And the acting was so... Yeah, Willem Dafoe was really good. Willem Dafoe as Green
Yeah,
Goblin was just an
obviously.
incredible villain. That and
Obviously.
yeah, some people were
He kind of
thinking...
agrees with me on the Spider-Man No Way Home being the best Spider-Man.
Yeah, I just can't.
Well, best MCU Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man 2 is the best Spider-Man.
Oh, Spider-Man 2 was awesome. Yeah, Spider-Man 2 would probably be S tier if we did like a...
Speaking of Sam Raimi Spider-Mans.
Yeah, if we
And
if we did an all-encompassing one.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
I think I'll have the highest opinion on this one.
Go ahead and
Oh,
take
I don't
it.
think so. I'm high on this.
I remember when we first talked, I remember you not liking it as much as me, but maybe it's grown
Multiverse?
with you over time.
I think you're conflating this with a different movie. I was the one defending Multiverse in the MCU chat.
I didn't like it, but
But for me, Multiverse of Madness is a B. I really enjoyed it. Now, I do feel like this is like it got to this point in the MCU where I was on TikTok a lot, and so just like hearing the fan theories, I felt like were better than what the movie ended up being. So it was a little disappointing in that fact. You know, I did not like the fact that they threw John Krasinski at us like that. It just felt like such a just like here, you can have this. And it just felt like it was kind of like disrespectful to John Krasinski, but I enjoyed the movie. I rewatched it multiple times. It's a B tier for me. I think it's better than what a lot of people. I feel like it gets a lot of hate. And I do like America Chavez a lot, and look forward to her in Young Avengers in the future. Yeah, it's a B for me.
I said I didn't like it. That's inaccurate. I liked it. It was a fine movie. It was like you alluded to, it was a disappointing movie. This is kind of like peak fan theory on the internet point of the MCU. I feel like because the MCU had fallen off a little bit at this point, everybody had their take of what would be good, and they wanted that to be reality, so they tried to will it into existence.
And they just had No Way Home, so we saw other people. So they were like,
exactly. They were doing things like No Way Home. So then naturally everybody thinks like Multiverse of Madness is going to be the next big team up that like does this. Everybody had been waiting for another Civil War since Civil War, where we get like this huge team up that's not quite an Avengers movie, but it brings a bunch of like other cool people in and is like a blockbuster in its own right. Because I mean, at this point, thinking about the stuff that's come out, it's been a long time since we had got anything like even Shang-Chi, which a lot of people liked. Nobody was talking about it with like Civil War, with Ragnarok. It was always being discussed on a tier below that. So I think there was a lot of just like everybody really wanted this to be another blockbuster, like absolute star movie, and it just fell short of that, and it was disappointing because there's stuff we wanted that we just didn't get. The movie on its own is fine. It's entertaining. I do like Doctor Strange a lot as a character, like you guys, so that's always a plus. I like seeing Scarlet Witch kind of just embracing the extent of her powers. Like, she's fucking badass. But there's just something about the movie. I think also the pacing of it felt a little bit off to me. I think while it's sitting in the theater, it felt like it was moving too quickly, and I didn't get time to like sit with big things. I don't know. It was fine. I'd probably have it in C tier.
Multiverse of Madness is probably the only MCU movie that I've been, on one hand, quite disappointed by, but at the same time still think is like B tier. I think Multiverse is quite good. I do not understand the hate for it compared to No Way Home, but I'm not going to keep comparing everything to No Way Home because I understand. I understand I'm on an out with that.
People just had such high expectations, which we're going to get to movies here soon that people had such high expectation for as it flopped.
No,
it's still good.
I'll say this: like, I thought Multiverse of Madness was going to be like S tier. Like, I bought into all the hype. I was like, oh my god, this is going to like reshape what the MCU could be, and it didn't do that. But I still really liked it. I would put it probably like mid B tier, I'd say.
Mid beer.
Yeah.
Mid beer.
mid beer.
Worst take in the chat right now is Justin saying he'd rather watch Black Widow than Multiverse of Madness.
Rather watch Black Widow.
That's crazy.
That's a take.
Terrible. Terrible.
Nah, Multiverse. I was the one, and I think it was against like Justin, and I won't say against Lucky, but like Lucky and I were disagreeing with it too. I really like Multiverse of Madness. It was No Way Home that I was, and Quantum Mania, which we'll get to, but we'll get there later.
We'll get there.
Ooh, I can't put it above Far From Home.
Oh, okay. Fine by me. We'll do that swap. Ms. Marvel.
You want to go?
I really liked Miss Marvel. this is probably borderline A/B.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm kind of grading it on a different curve from the
Mhm.
movies. It's kind of like you said before. It's kind of difficult with these TV shows to necessarily do them in the same space as the movies. But as far as the shows have gone, Miss Marvel was awesome. I thought it stayed pretty strong start to finish. It did a really good job of creating its own style. I really like the way that they used cartoon drawings to illustrate how Kamala what Kamala was thinking about and talking about. I thought that was really good. I think the actress Iman Vellani was awesome. She just bodied that role and made it very entertaining. It ran into some issues like most of these did with landing the plane and keeping your interest all the way through, but it still did a better job than a lot of these other ones. So I'd probably have it close to A tier, but probably high B.
I feel like the shows are because there's so many really bad ones that when you find one that you really enjoy, I feel like we might almost put it higher than we should.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed Miss Marvel. Like I said, like you said, I'm just kind of piggybacking on what you said. It is separate from its own thing, like the way it's styled and everything like that. This is one of those ones that Becca hasn't watched any of the shows, but I was like, of all the shows other than Loki, she's watched Loki. I take that back. She hasn't watched any other ones. I'm like, watch Miss Marvel. That one's really enjoyable. I think you'd like it. I think anybody that watched Miss Marvel outside of the MCU would like it. I feel like it could be watched by people that outside of it. This might be a hot take, but in my opinion, Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel is the best casting since Endgame. I think she's fantastic. I would put it as A tier.
No, I think that's a reasonable take.
I've never seen it, and y'all are making me want to see it now because
watch it, bro. Watch it. It does end kind of but overall, it's really enjoyable, and the family dynamic I love.
Right. But it's one of those it ends kind of but it's not like you're disappointed you spent all this time watching it. It's just whatever. It was a good show. It was such a good show that despite an ending like that we're obviously still singing its praises.
There's a lot worse endings in TV shows that we're gonna get to soon.
Yeah.
So this next one, I'm just going to give my spiel on before I let the two of you go at it.
Go for it.
I cannot rank this because of all the MCU movies I've gone into the theater to see. This is my only DNF. I walked out halfway through.
Damn!
I walked out. I couldn't do it. Even Quantumania, which I'm going to absolutely shit on later. Even Quantumania, I sat.
I can't wait for us to talk about that
one. And I watched all the way through. Thor: Love and Thunder, an hour in, I felt sick to my stomach. I was like, I can't do this. They're look at how they're butchering my boy.
I'm surprised it took you that long, to be honest.
Look at how they're butchering my boy.
That's wild.
Yeah, I didn't walk out, but I certainly. This one has a lot to do with after Ragnarok being the next Thor movie after that, and just that high expectation. Like this is going to be another one of those, and it certainly was not. They went way overboard in the first 20 minutes. I was just like, we're in trouble. Because there was a lot of jokes that just did not hit, and they went over the top with a lot. I think the MCU is kind of during Ragnarok was kind of on the director Taki Waititi or whatever his name is, and they were kind of micromanaging him a little bit. And then the next one they're like, dude, Ragnarok's so good, just do your thing, do your own thing. And I think they were kind of like, whoa, we fucked that up, and then immediately fired him, and he's not going to do Thor 4. So for me, rewatching it with the low expectations, I enjoyed it for what it is, which is a borderline CD Marvel movie.
Yeah, Taika Waititi, he came in to Thor Ragnarok and you felt his personality immediately, but it felt like there was still people in the studio telling him, you can kind of do your own thing, but you can't do everything you want to do. And then because Thor Ragnarok hit, they're like, you know what? Go for it, man. You did great. This is phenomenal. Go do your thing. Make the movie you want to make. And then it turned out the movie he wanted to make struggled. Yeah. He also just became bigger, obviously, and his time was split amongst multiple things, and who knows how much that played into it. That's kind of just speculating at that point. But this they tried so hard to be something and didn't land the plane. And we have to mention that Gore the God Butcher did not butcher a single god on screen.
What a waste of Christian.
His name is Gore the God Butcher, and he did not do that thing.
We didn't actually watch him do it, except for the first one.
It was just incredibly disappointing. Christian Bale was so good every time he was on the screen, and they didn't let him do it.
Oh,
The movie was like 90 minutes long, if I'm remembering correctly, and I
for
felt
sure.
like if they just put an extra 30 minutes in of all those other things that we wish we could have seen, it could have been just fine. But pacing was a huge issue with it. Yeah, it was probably like D tier, maybe F. I don't think it's worse than the movies we have in D, but if factoring in expectations, I think it's F tier.
Connor might have walked out before my favorite scene, which is when they were on wherever they were. It was all black and white, and like when their like weapons
Mm.
would connect, like the color would come through and stuff like that. I thought that was fantastic. I love that scene.
Yeah, I
But
don't know what you're talking about, so I didn't see
yeah,
that.
yeah. Maybe watch
I'm
that, like look
definitely
that up on YouTube or something. But
Sure.
that was cinematically, I thought that was pretty cool.
It
And I
was.
thought it looked good. But yeah,
No, I'm definitely with you that on rewatch I enjoyed it more because I didn't have the expectations. I think for me it suffered from the same thing as Multiverse of Madness did, in that I was expecting a spectacle, like one of the best movies, and we didn't get it, and so that made it all the worse for it.
Justin's got to get out of here with these takes. He said gore was overused.
How the fuck was he overused, Justin? Please tell me that's a typo.
I think he meant underused. I gotta think he meant underused. There's no way he was over. He was barely in the movie.
It's quite the typo if it is a typo. It's like 4 letters got wrong.
Yeah, there you go. He said under.
Yeah,
I was like, come on. All right, go ahead. Yeah, I say CD. I think it's better than Ant-Man and Wasp, personally.
I didn't
I
walk
know.
out of Ant-Man and the Wasp. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I feel like my opinion almost doesn't matter because I've only ever seen half this movie. So
Don't ever say that.
Well, okay, but you're saying that as if wanting to leave halfway through is not indicative of the quality of the movie.
Yeah, that's fair. Mid D,
Put it
can we
somewhere
say?
in D. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'll put it right here. I'll put it above Hulk because again, I've never seen Hulk.
Better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Sure. Yeah, I'm okay with that. She-Hulk Attorney at Law, which I haven't seen, so.
that was
Lucky
another
you've
fun
seen it.
one. Yeah, I saw it. Did you see it?
I think we may have different opinions. You can go first.
I thought it was fun. I thought it again. It came during a point in time of the shows where they were saying, let's just try to make everything its own unique thing. Let's not try to like put the same vibe onto every single project. And so they just made it was 30-minute episodes, and it was a sitcom style, not with like laughing track, but it was like sitcom style, and almost like a procedural crime show where every week was a different, or procedural law show where every week was like a different trial or case that they were working on, obviously all while trying to figure out their own lives. And I thought the twist at the end, I mean, I kind of mentioned it a few times, I really hate when these stories just end with, all right, we dealt with conflict for an hour and 45 minutes, now here's a CGI fight, and that's how we solve everything. It just feels lazy, and I liked the way that they wrapped this one up in a way that challenged that.
Connor, you seen this one?
Nope.
Nope. I hated it. I didn't like the casting at all. I barely even remember. I struggled. I watched every episode. I struggled to like sit through them all, and it just was not enjoyable for me, in any way. I'm trying to think of one redeemable quality. They gave us fucking Hulk son for no reason.
Yeah.
And and the scene that, the memeable scene of her twerking with Megan Thee Stallion, I'm just like, the only part I kind of was like a little bit interested in was they had the Kevin, the little AI or robot thingy, or the
Yeah.
camera thing that kind of like, I forget what they call that, like fifth dimension or whatever. I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. You have my attention a little bit. I'm off my phone, but otherwise, I thought it was terrible. I throw it in D tier. I wouldn't say it's F like Black Widow, but it's definitely a D tier.
I would have had it high C.
So we're saying
So let's go low C then.
probably. Yeah, low C.
Yeah,
Split
we'll
the
go low
difference.
C then.
Yeah, we'll
Probably the
put
lowest C. Yeah, but
lowest C. All right,
Put it over Eternals.
over Eternals.
okay, sure, that's fine.
Okay. You know what? Fine with it. So none of us have seen Werewolf at Night, right?
I have not.
Correct. That's
Alright.
the only one on this list I have not seen.
We're
I've heard
not
good
gonna-
things
I heard
about
it
it. But,
We're not going to tear it then. Moving on to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
I'll kick it off. I don't think it's as good as the first one. I think it's a B tier movie. I think personally the class of how they honored Chadwick Boseman was fantastic. That made the movie for me. The rest of the movie could have been absolute dog shit, and I still would have been like, oh, I still love that. But Shuri's Black Panther just doesn't do it for me. And I think I don't know why. That is. But Becca just walked in. She's not happy. But for me, it's a B tier movie for sure. I don't think it's as good as the first one. But again, I just really wanted to talk about, and I think Namor as a villain, I liked him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Namor was one of the best villains that we've seen post Endgame. I think this is the highest of B tiers for me. I can't quite put it in A, but I think everything that they did pivoting post Chadwick, I think they did a really good job at. I think they did a phenomenal job of memorializing him with this movie.
Yeah.
It was just, I cried like 5 times during it. It was a highly emotional movie, but in all the right ways. Yeah, I think given the situation they were put into, I think they did a really good job. I agree with you that I don't quite buy Shuri as the Black Panther. I'm not sure what a better option was, but yeah, I have difficulty with it. They were talking about like
Killmonger better, but she's not royalty.
Yeah, I don't. It all would have. I would have struggled with just about anything that wasn't Chadwick, so it's kind of difficult at that point. Yeah, this is high B. I would put this at the very top of B tier. It's very close to A for me, but I just can't quite put it there.
Yes, I'll B. I mean, you can feel the loss of Chadwick all throughout, both in the good memorializing emotional ways and in the bad ways. I mean, they did the best they could, certainly, and this could have been such a bomb. Yeah, very emotional Marvel movie. It was fine. Yeah, B tier. Whoops! My microphone stopped working. There we go. Yeah. So I'll save my own thoughts for last on this one. I want to hear y'all's thoughts on Quantum Mania.
I want to hear Lucky first because I feel like he's probably going to be the middle between us.
Yeah, I'm probably closer to CMAS, but I think it's overhated because it's another movie that we had high expectations for. I don't think it was good per se, but I think it was far from bad. I really liked Cassie, but I thought that her progression worked really well. Obviously, I like Paul Rudd a lot in the role. I think it was very disappointing considering this was supposed to be the movie that was supposed to set up Kang as Thanos, as a Thanos level villain, and it failed to do that. And that was its like one job, which is why I have difficulty putting it above C. Yeah, I think I feel pretty good with it, like mid C.
This is my favorite Ant-Man movie. I think it's the best one. And that's probably the take that people are going to freak out about. And I think the beginning of the movie and like introducing us to Jonathan Majors with it in that Kang role, as opposed to He Who Remains and Victor Timely and Loki, got me really excited. And throughout the movie, I was really excited. And then, I'm a big fan of Rick and Morty, and it reminded me a lot of it. Just the different like aspects of it and like the different weird type of aliens and stuff like that, which people I don't think liked a lot. And when it came to the end, which I found out later, they had an alternate ending. They decided to go with the ending that is now. There was an alternate ending when Kang actually won, which I feel like they should have gone with. But I don't know if there was already that we're not sure if he's going to be Kang anymore type thing that was going on during filming. They had to change it, but I was really disappointed they went that direction because he definitely seemed like, because in the shows and stuff like that, like Kang is like OP as hell. And so it's for him to just getting beat up by a bunch of little ants, like just fucking fly up, bro. He can fly. I don't understand what the problem is. He has the technology to do that. So it really disappointed to me, that ending. I actually skipped work and watched this movie while I was supposed to be working, because I was so excited to see it and was just like, man, that wasn't worth risking my job over. So I'm with you in the C area. I wanted it to be a B pretty bad, but it's just a C.
All right. I understand that what I'm about to say is not where this is going to end up on our tier list, so I'm just gonna get my takes off, and then we can put it in the C range. Well, that's fine. I'm outvoted. This is the worst MCU property I've ever seen. It's worse than Thor: The Dark World. It's worse than. I can't compare it to Thor: Love and Thunder because I walked out halfway through, so like I feel I don't feel like great comparing it to that. I am so thoroughly disappointed in so many elements of this movie. Maybe the ending of Kang, potentially killing Scott, maybe that would have saved it a little. Matter of fact, I probably would have, but that's not what we were given, so I'm forced to, grade it based on what we were given. At no point did I find it funny, even though they were doing the, joke a minute thing that they always do. Cassie, Cassie's just one of the most beige, just
I didn't like
boring
Cassie.
characters. I do not care. The recasting for Cassie was super weird too. I'm not sure why they did that. Just as a side point, just an absolute dog shit job at establishing Kang as a threat, like you said. If we're kind of like zooming out and looking at how it impacts the MCU as a whole, it fundamentally failed in its one job. I hated it. It would be in hell tier if it were up to me, but it's not up to me. That's why I have the two of you in here to check my impulses. So we can put it.
So wait, CMAS, where did you have it?
I said C.
I also said C. Let's put it in D.
Hi, Steve.
I think that's reasonable.
Above Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Connor's opinion matters, man.
God, I hated Quantumania. And then, I think one thing that's biasing me against it then is all the arguments I had with y'all, like, just after you had seen it, just, like, the constant debating we had in MCU. Yeah, no.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors, just the way he talked and just like, oh, like, he's like an Avenger. Oh, I killed you before. That line always just got me. I was like, oh, shit. Who's this fucker? And then he gets killed, like, 30 minutes later. Or allegedly. But anyways, guess we'll never know.
They took down Kang with some ants, man. I can't do it.
A lot of ants.
They had Paul Rudd beating up Kang. Can't do it. That's not my MCU.
Yeah, not even Ant-Man. It was Scott Lang beating him up.
Well, it was fist to fist, both without their technology.
Yeah,
still
exactly. It was Scott Lang. It was not.
Well,
Ant-Man.
to be fair, he Kang did beat him, but he had to like kind of cheat. But it is what it is.
Okay.
Anyways, let's move to a good thing.
Guardians Volume 3.
Easy A.
Easy A.
Absolutely.
It's equivalent to the first Guardians of the Galaxy for me.
Better.
So just below, just above it, wherever you want to put it, they're the same to me. Phenomenal movie.
One of my
great way of wrapping it up.
Post Endgame movies for sure. One of the most emotional, probably one of the more emotional ones I felt, other than the Chadwick Boseman scene in Black Panther, the second one. So yeah, definitely A tier, easy A tier.
Absolutely agreed. Incredible movie. Yeah, and I saw this when I was at like my all-time lowest opinion of like where the MCU was going as a whole. Like post Quantumania, post all that, I was just like, man, fuck this. Like, do I even care about the MCU anymore? And this just, this reminded me why I'm a fan to begin with. Incredible job. Way to tie up that whole saga. I'm okay with, I'll put it, I think, just below the original one for me personally, but it's, easy A tier. You can't put it any lower. And like I said, super emotional too. Who like, I never thought I would care about a CGI raccoon as much as I did. Just
James Gunn, man, he's just done some amazing things. It was superhero movies over the last decade. I'm so excited to see him take over DC. But yeah, what he did with the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy was amazing.
Yeah, awesome and then the next little Galaxy special here.
Yeah, which I've never seen that note existed. So here we are. Y'all are gonna have to carry me. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
It's cute.
That was exactly what I was gonna say. It's cute.
it owns what it is. It's like a 45-minute, hour-long Christmas special with a funny. You can tell that they don't have the same budget. Even just like Drax's makeup looks cheap, but it's just a story about how Drax and Mantis want to make Christmas special for Star-Lord. So they go and kidnap Kevin Bacon as a gift. It's just kind of a fun little thing. It doesn't really have a whole lot to do with anything else, but it was a cool thing that they made. I enjoyed it. I'd probably put it in B.
I thought, cute, very cute. I barely remember it as you were talking about Kevin Bacon. I was, oh yeah, that's right. Because I watched it during whatever Christmas it came out, and I don't really remember it since. It doesn't really tie into anything. It almost feels like non-canon. So for me, it's just kind of.
It's just kind of
there. I'd throw it into the C, just because it really doesn't have anything to do with anything. But I enjoyed it. I'll probably never watch it again. Cute.
We're giving it its own cute tier. I'm not sure if I can like compare a holiday special to like actual movies and like important canon setting events. But
no, that's good.
We'll give it a cute tier between B and C.
Fine by me.
Fine by me.
Yeah.
Secret Invasion, which I have never seen, but I've heard nothing but just awful things about it. What are y'all's opinions on Secret Invasion?
Trying to decide between F and Hell.
Yeah. It felt like a complete waste of my time.
It was just horrible. It created
talking about CGI ends of the fighting at the end. Worst I've ever seen. Just absolutely terrible. You know what? No, I wouldn't say hell. It's F.
I'm going hell tier. I'm going hell.
Right.
It was just.
I'll
First
go
off,
hell then.
they now this is the strongest being in the world, in the universe, probably. Like,
Yep.
she has the powers of like 6 or 7 of the strongest beings, all of them combined, and that just is a thing now that they haven't talked about since.
Nope.
Like, yeah, it was bad from start to finish. Fucking what's her name? Who does Kobe Smulders play? What's her character's name?
Robin Scherbatsky.
Robin Scherbatsky. They killed Robin Scherbatsky in the first episode.
Yeah, kind of.
And in just such an unceremonious way. Like, she's been here since like almost day one, and she just kind of like dies sadly.
She was always just kind of round and kind of pointless, and then it's just like, okay, well, why did you kill her then? Like, I don't know.
It was tough. All of it was tough. It had almost nothing redeeming about it. They played up this idea of Skrulls being like anybody you know could be a Skrull. Like, they've been playing that up for a while, and then it was just Rhodey. Like,
yep.
Yeah, I'm just like all of the plot point. Again, I've never seen it, but like everything I've heard about it, like both from you and from like YouTubers that watch stuff, have made it sound like just the absolute like stupidest show in terms of like, I guess, the implications on the MCU and what it means. Like them, I guess, unleashing that character with like the combined powers of 10 different superheroes and villains. That's wild to me. I'm curious to see how they run that.
I thought it was going to be a thriller, like just like not knowing who's who and just everybody questioning everyone, and it just wasn't that at all.
Yeah. I was like kind of excited for it too. Like when I heard about the concept, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." You know, it could be like kind of Winter Soldier-y, like deception. You know, espionage.
It was a great idea.
Yeah, just not that whatsoever.
Well, like this idea of anybody could be a Skrull. That's such a cool concept, and I really thought they were going to bring in a lot more people. Like, I thought we were going to find out that like Sharon Carter had been a Skrull this whole time because she had been acting weird anyway. I thought it should have gone like that deep, like pull a character from like almost every show that we've been seeing. Somebody was a Skrull in all of those, but instead it was just this guy who you haven't actually seen in like 8 movies. He was the one.
2 more, boys. The Marvels.
I actually really enjoyed this movie. I went in it with like no expectations. And one of the original fight scenes where where they keep switching places by accident, I thought it was fantastic. The music in it was perfect. And the interaction between the three, I thought this was going to be the movie that everyone was going to be like, "Oh, I like Brie Larson again." And for some reason, it's got a ton of hate. I think it's a B movie. I liked it a lot. I've rewatched it twice since it's been on Disney Plus. I really enjoy it.
I think this one is either a really high C for me, like above Age of Ultron, or really low B, because it was a lot of fun. Obviously, we talked about Iman Vellani. She was so well cast. This was, for me, the movie that made me see like, oh, Brie Larson can like play this character in a more enjoyable way. There's some plot issues here and there, but overall, I thought it was a pretty well put together movie. It was fun. It didn't take itself too seriously, but it did that in a good way.
Yeah,
I liked it.
I'm probably like very slightly lower on it than the 2 of you are, just because I probably have it in that like original Doctor Strange range, which is like,
sure.
I mean, I guess it's still high C, but like, yeah, very, very solid. I thought, I'm at the point, honestly, where my brain's fried after 2 hours talking about MCU. I'll be completely honest with y'all.
Almost done.
But yeah, I enjoyed it.
I've only gotten yelled at twice.
I put it high C. I'm gonna put it between Age of Ultron and Guardians Volume 2. We can put it right there.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys agree, because I was afraid that you guys would hate that movie.
No, I don't hate it. I don't hate it whatsoever.
It just received so much hate. I'm so tired of like anytime like there's a female lead, people hate it.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, I mean, the female lead thing is the only thing keeping it out of A for me, because I can't stand women on my screen, but that's a separate issue.
That's it. Yeah, speaking of female lead.
Echo.
Yeah, Echo. For the record, so don't take my like. I watched the first episode and half the second, and I haven't been able to get back to it since. So hopefully it gets better after that, and eventually we'll probably watch it. But like my faith in the shows after Secret Invasion is kind of going down. What are your thoughts on people that have actually watched all the way through?
It's all on you. I've not seen this.
It was way better than Secret Invasion, so you don't have to worry about that. It was probably back up in like the Hawkeye range of quality. I think she has a very fascinating story. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
like it's a Native American deaf woman who still carries like the concept of a deaf person carrying a 5-episode show and doing it well is pretty fascinating to me, if I'm being honest. Like, they pulled it off really well.
Yeah.
And I think from what I've heard, they did like the Native American community well with this one. I've heard a lot of praise for how they handled it culturally. And I always appreciate hearing things like that when I'm watching shows about cultures that I'm just not that familiar with, because I'm like, I don't know if what I'm watching is genuine or not. No, it was a fun one. She has a pretty cool like fighting style. She's not like super powered. She just is deaf and she's good at fighting. Like, her deafness isn't they don't try to like make it a superpower.
Yeah, it's not like Daredevil. Yeah.
Right. Who is in it, by the way, and also is pretty cool in it.
Yeah.
It was a good show. I'd probably put it somewhere like right next to Hawkeye.
Yeah, back to She-Hulk. I was like, ooh, Daredevil. Oh, he fucks her? Oh.
I'm going to treat your two opinions as the same here. Lucky has it middle of C. Where would you have the first half of the first episode, CMS?
Well, I watched the full first episode,
Okay,
and for the record, I did enjoy that first episode. So I'm okay with C. I'm take Lucky's. Me and Lucky, for the most part, have been pretty in line with each other's opinions, which makes it not maybe as good content as we'd like.
I'll put it right here. No, we've got enough hooting and hollering to associate people. I've gotten my Quantum Media takes off. I'm okay. Yeah, we can tier award shows next. I'm here for it. All right.
Tier award show.
This is the Better League Network MCU official tier list. As we kind of
go up.
Move up and down here. Yeah, we'll start here. Is there anything that you're seeing should maybe move up a tier, move down a tier? What are your thoughts? I think F and Hell are pretty solidified. We don't need to worry about those. So I'll put it right here.
Yeah. For me, the only one I really feel like should be in the A tier is Far From Home, but I just know that you have such a stance on it.
No Way Home.
No Way Home. I'm sorry, No Way Home. Yeah, it really kind of surprised me that you think it was that bad, that you like we had to average it down to a B, but that's the only one that I'm like, that should be a higher tier.
I can't believe Iron Man 3 is above Iron Man 2. This is like blowing my brain. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't see why you think they're like that dissimilar in terms of quality.
Yeah,
like they're
literally like one
same.
step higher. You're freaking out over.
Yeah.
I think they're really far apart.
Okay.
I think I would maybe be okay with bumping Eternals down a tier, putting it in D above Quantum Mania.
Personally, I like Quantum Mania better, so I wouldn't fight that too much.
I understand.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, that all.
Also, like throwing Love and Thunder better than Eternals too.
I feel like the first Thor is a little bit higher than I would have put it.
I think the debate coming out of this is going to be, should we have put Civil War in S or not? And I'm okay. I think I like it being like highest A, but there's a really good argument for putting it like lowest S.
I mean, yeah. I mean, how much more love can we give Captain America? That's by far the best trilogy. I mean,
easy.
how many trilogies do we even have? Iron Man, Thor, Captain America,
Ant-Man.
Thor's not technically a trilogy. They got 4 of them.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, Captain America is number 1.
It's trilogy for me because I still haven't seen all of them.
Guardians of the Galaxy might. No, it's not. It's definitely not better. But Guardians of the Galaxy is the only other one that is in the conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Spider-Man's pretty good. I mean, but yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is better.
I think we can quibble with like individual rankings a little bit, but in general, I think we got this.
It was just the letter ones. The only one that's in the wrong letter grade is No Way Home.
I think the biggest thing I would move would be Thor down to very bottom of B. But even that's like quibbling, as you said.
The original Thor.
The original Thor.
Oh, Wakanda Forever, Far From Home.
Gridiron says Spider-Verse should be included.
I could
but
move
yeah,
it
I mean,
here.
yeah.
I would put pretty much all everything we have below it. I would put above. But
I definitely like most of those things that are in B above Thor, except for WandaVision.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to be the one to like.
I'm fine with it
strongly,
just being in
I'm,
there.
I'm not going to be the wrong to like strongly defend Thor.
Yeah.
Sure.
With moving it down. I'm also going to.
The only one I'm pounding the table for is No Way Home.
I'm going to move Eternals down to high D. I think.
Okay.
Sure. I'm not going to focus on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and then No Way Home. Yeah, sorry, I know I had the kind of like the extreme outlier take on that. It is what it is.
Is what it is.
Yeah,
Grid wants us to include Spider-Verse, and that it should be S tier. And yes, it would be S tier, but it's not an MCU movie, so it's not.
I mean, this might be a hot take, but I think that would be the best movie in the list.
Yes.
It's at least number 2. It might be number 1. And then Across the Spider-Verse is S tier as well. Like,
I can't. Yeah, there's no shot I can speak confidently.
I haven't even seen the third movie's not even out. It's probably going to be the best superhero trilogy.
God, I hope so. First two are so good.
I got to cut it if you don't mind.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Lucky. Thanks for joining me. CMAS, if you can hear me, thanks for joining me.
I can hear you. I'm still here. I'm just saying we got to wrap it up.
Appreciate you both. We'll get into some more tiering later on. I'm using Royal We. I'll get into some more tiering later on. I know Troy's going to join me at some point for tiering MCU jerseys MCU jerseys, NFL jerseys.
Yeah, I was just about to say. I think the next tier one, a really good tier one, would be NFL jerseys.
Yeah, and we'll get there. This will be breaking news soon. I appreciate you both, and thank you to the chat as well. This was honestly more active of a chat than I was expecting. I kind of thought it was going to be the three of us talking to ourselves, so I appreciate y'all.